welcome to another episode of the Bearded Goods Podcast. My name is Brandon Smith. I'll be your host. And today I got the opportunity to sit down with Toni.The.Martian. I met Toni when I was went back up to Goodnights. He actually runs audio up there. Got to talking, found out he was a musician. Wanted to get him on, find out a little bit more about him, and talk to him a little bit about music. And I actually had to go pick him up. So I went and picked him up, and we got to talking on the way back, and we're just kind of jumping in right where we left off in the car. So you guys enjoy. So, Toni, what's up, man?
Not shit, dude.
Not shit, dude. We did a lot of talking before we got here, so it kind of feels like I don't need to warm up to anybody. But
yeah, no, I understand. It's for the fans.
For the fans, yeah, my 12 of them.
Honestly, dude, that's a significant amount. Anyone who's willing to listen to you are true supporters, and I appreciate.
I have actually a couple of them, man, that are that'll listen to it. When I post it up, I had a guy. I've talked about him. I think on one of the last podcasts. I work with him, and he's like, "Dude, when are you gonna put up another one? I gotta clean my guns this Sunday. I need something to listen to while I do that." I was like, "Oh, I'll get one up, man. I'll get one up." So, musician. What else do you do? Comedian too?
I wouldn't say that I'm so comically inclined. No, I'm pretty funny in conversation, I suppose.
Yeah,
but I have a hard time.
You kind of got thrown in the mix because where I met you at was Goodnights.
Correct.
You run audio,
right?
And
that's right.
Lights and all that stuff there for them, and I do comedy with music. I needed to plug in or find a way to do how I was gonna what I was gonna do.
I remember that actually.
Yeah, and I came to you. I was like, "Hey, dude, I need to talk to you about something." And you're like, oh, "Okay." So you helped me out, and then it's kind of. When I see you, we talk, you know?
and then my boss came to me and was like, yeah, so we don't offer special privileges to anyone on the open mics. And I'm like, oh, well, he asked nice, so I thought it was okay.
Hey, in all fairness, I thought it was okay, too.
Yeah.
But, you live, you learn, you move on. It's fine. There's no problem with that. I don't mind it all being in all fairness for everybody, I don't want it to seem like I'm getting any kind of special treatment.
Yeah, no, and I agree, but... it was simple. It was as simple as plugging in a DI box, and allowing you to run your own.
Yeah, I think
cables to it.
Where it might have gotten lost was I made the mistake of leaving my guitar on stage, and I can see totally how that would be.
I understand
seen that way. So I just don't want to. I don't want to rub people the wrong way. I don't want to come in there and be like that. So I'm very non-standoffish. I back down. Pretty easy. I'm not a fighter. I'm a big guy, but I'm really not. I'm not a fighter at all. If I'm forced to fight, I'll fight.
I feel that. I'm quite the opposite, actually.
Really? So you're handsy. Should I be a little worried?
No, not so much. Like I say in one of my songs once, I wrote, "Music made me a killer," and that's saying I definitely glorify or romanticize the aggressive side of myself, but I grew up fighting for sure. I grew up fighting. I'm trained in Muay Thai. I did a few years of Muay Thai.
Really?
Yeah, and I actually am about to get into Krav Maga. And the difference between Muay Thai and Krav Maga for me is that, Krav Maga is taught with the intention of survival. You know what I mean? And that's where I am nowadays.
So is Krav? I might mangle this. Krav Maga.
Yeah.
Is it more of a defensive martial art?
Yeah. It's
kind of I think judo is kind of like that, right?
Yeah.
It's more of a how to manipulate a person to not engage.
Precisely. And I mean, Muay Thai is very much the same. Also, you're taught both aspects of, the offense and the defense. And you've probably heard in a lot of martial arts movies, Be Like Water or whatever. That's exactly what the concept is. It's more of a spiritual practice than anything. It's more for show. It's more for competition, things like that, for being the best at what you do, as opposed to defense. And so there's a difference for me, because like I said, I grew up fighting, but nowadays, people don't want to fight, and that's fine. I don't want to fight either. I prefer to handle everything with words. I'm an intelligent guy, and I feel like conceding unto violence only exemplifies quite the opposite, you know what I mean? And that's not the kind of guy that I want to be. But say, for example, I work in a security position, and there are guys who have been aggressive with me. And instead of running to one of the bigger guys, I shouldn't have to run to one of the bigger guys and be like, yo, handle this situation for me. Although it does help me in the long run, because then I've got someone, you know, to back up whatever my claim or my statement is that was there, that can say, yeah, actually it did happen the way that he said it happened.
Yeah.
But there have been times where, you know, like I'll come and tell someone, yo, you guys are talking way too loudly. Can you quiet down?
I've seen you do it.
And then one guy asked me during we talked about a little bit about this in the car, but I'm not gonna, you know, say it too much or talk too much on the particular.
Just remember this goes out.
Yeah,
so
precisely. But this one guy, he was like, "Where'd you come from?" And I was like, "Right over there." And he was like, "Well, how about you go back?" And before I could say anything, though, you know, I didn't have to respond because one of the security guards, you know, and they're always on their job. They're always paying attention. As soon as you go and tell someone to do something, they're watching.
Yeah, they're watching,
time.
making sure everything's going down okay.
And he came over and he was like, "Yo, the man's doing his job. You don't got to be rude. You can either quiet down or get the fuck out the showroom." And I'm like, "Yeah, I love this. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't have to be aggressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, you know, we've got each other's backs and things like that. But suppose someone does strike at me, I can easily incapacitate most people. Like, I'm a schizo, you know what I mean? And no, quite seriously. I'm pretty fucked up. And, you know, when I feel like someone's a threat, I see 1,000 different ways to incapacitate this person. But they almost always go to extreme, you know what I mean? To the point of you know.
Yeah, there's kind of like no gray area with it.
Really
it's
hurting
like
the
you
person.
Go from I'm absolutely fine and you're absolutely fine to you're absolutely not fine. I'm still okay.
Yeah,
but
at the very least, you know, the intention to really, really hurt this person is very real. You know what I mean? If it so comes to that, you know what I mean? And that's not what I want to be, because, you know, I'm definitely trying to work on myself more spiritually.
Dude, I've taken a more inward look in my life here a lot in the past, like 4 years. Kind of like step back from who I was and just kind of looked at what I had going on, the type of person I was, the type of person I was portraying, and who I thought I was, and just put it all in a pot and just stirred on it for a long time. And it actually kicked me through, I wouldn't say just that, but part of that was going through a big bout of depression.
Yeah, for sure.
Big bout of depression. I mean, it's tough, man. And some people, they don't understand it, and that's fine. No. They don't get it, and that's fine that they don't understand it. But until you experience it, you don't know, man. You really don't know. And part of what helped kick me back out of that was back in March when I started going back to Good Nights, when I started getting back up on stage, when I took more control of what I had going on. Dude, this garage right here was just full of boxes and everything. Yeah. All my old stuff. I had built that couch and did this little wall, but it was all pushed up to like right there, and
everything
was clutter and clutter. And there's still stuff I want to get rid of in here, but I can't.
Well, that's a nice bike, bro.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, we walked right past it. But I still can't get myself to throw away like good wood that I could use to build something.
I'm
because
the same way,
I built
dude.
this, I built that, and I put this floor in with the help of my buddy. I built that wall, I built that. So everything in here, that record player and shit, all that, I built that. But
you know, and see, like, I'm the same exact way. I'm always
I can't rely on somebody else to do it. Because one, I can't afford to use. Precisely. I can't afford to pay you to do that.
That's why you keep the old wood. It's because of that mindset.
Because I'm going to end up using it. Yeah. Like even with that pegboard, I've got a green screen right there. I've been thinking about wrapping that pegboard in the green screen so I can have like a portable green screen like that. Just pop it up.
Actually, really dope.
You know what I mean? So,
idea, for sure.
But I've been thinking about stuff like that. But I can't bring myself to throw that shit away. And I totally lost what I was talking about. Oh, reflecting on depression and shit. Yeah. So going through that, coming back out of it, going back up to Good Nights, and really taking more control of my life, and then finding out that, what's the word that I'm looking for? It's just that good mix, that blend of your life. That
I have recently started, and if it's the same like concept that you're talking about, I've recently discovered what contentedness actually is, as opposed to like happiness. You know what I mean? Learning to just like be okay in the moment and understand that, you know, you've got to live in this moment and you've got to experience this moment. But, you know, you can project things into the future, but it's not promised to you. The universe is extremely chaotic. You know what I mean? And so like you can plan for the future and things like that, but you and I planned this meeting, but very well, I could have died or vice versa. You know
I could have gotten into an accident on the way to pick you up.
Dude. And it's like, you know, what can you do but be excited for what's happening in this moment?
Yeah. Okay. So
And
you just put the words with my feelings pretty well. Yeah.
so I would say that's contentedness.
For sure with who I am and what I've got going on. And
it's not the same as YOLO. It's not that you only live once or the carpe. It's even more than carpe diem. You know what I mean? It's and I don't want to sound, condescending or fucking snobby or any of that other shit. It's not that at all. It is the nearing enlightenment for sure. You know what I mean? The Buddhist principle of finding contentedness in the midst of chaos, finding structure and stability in the midst of chaos, and understanding that everything is everything, and just being okay with it, relinquishing materials, relinquishing expectations and desire and things like that, and understanding that the things that you do acquire, okay, cool, but ultimately it's got to be left behind anyway, so that's cool too.
Hang on just a second. I do this. I think this is the third podcast I've done. This is the third time I've done this. I haven't cut off my baby monitor.
I was wondering what the hell that was. I thought it was your chair or something like.
It's called being in your 30s and having a family and doing this thing out of your garage.
Hey man,
cut this thing off too. That would reduce a little bit more background noise.
It's okay. My buddy and his fiance actually just recently had a kid earlier this year, and I met them only like a year ago, but we became really good friends really quickly. We worked together, he and I, and then we just started hanging out on the weekends. You actually remind me a lot of him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he and I are the same age, so 23 by the way. Yeah.
I've got some years on you.
Yeah, dude, he just had his first kid, and she's a very beautiful little girl. I have yet to even meet her, but I'm gonna be meeting her on Monday at the event that I help organize.
Oh, that's good.
So I'm really excited for that, and I'm really excited for that event all around.
What's the name of the event? You have
actually,
we can promote it, because I'm gonna post this up later on today. Actually, probably after I drop you off, I'm gonna come back, edit the audio, and post it up. So
hell yeah, dude!
Anything you want to promote it, dude. So tell me about the show.
So we're called Between Two Clouds, and the artist who started this event, he is also known by Between Two Clouds. He's a DJ. He does a lot of electro, house, deep trance, a lot of spiritual based stuff. You know what I mean? Stuff that really wubs you the fuck out. I don't know how many psychedelics or anything you've ever done, but stuff that really puts you in a different dimension for sure. And he and I have a very similar vision where when you come to see a show, you are there for the show. You're not there for all of the glitz and glamour. You're there to enjoy the art and experience the art. You know what I mean? I've seen way too often where I'll go to shows and people will be will force themselves to have a good time because they spent money on it. And
they feel like they have to have a good time. They feel that pressure on themselves.
Precisely. Working these shows, I can see this isn't a good fucking show, and I'm like, these people are having a good time literally because
I used to work at a Good Nights too. I remember seeing that. You have a packed show and the show's just not going well and you're just like, oh.
Yeah.
All right.
And, and
you probably have a little bit more clarity on it than I did because I worked there when I was I was younger than you when I worked there.
Oh, word.
Damn. I think so.
That's when it was still Charlie Goodnights, huh?
Yeah, this one Reader still owned it.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Yeah. Hell yeah. Now Mark owns it. He's an alright cat.
Good.
I haven't had too much conversation.
Yeah, because both of those guys were named Mark. So when I came back and asked Brandy, I was like, "So Mark's still on?" She's like, "Yeah, Mark's still on." So I was like, "Oh, cool." And I was like, "Reader?" She's like, "No." I was like, "Oh, okay." I don't know how long ago that happened, but it's been a while since.
It's been I think 5 or 6 years. I think.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, it's been a long time since I've been there. Yeah. Been a long time. So this show you got coming up, you said it's called Between Two Clouds, and what you guys got? So what's tell me what the vibe's going to be like. So what should people expect to see there?
All right, dude, it's really fucking dope. So we've got our own in-house cook. He gets.
Hold up. So is this a show, or am I going to show and a dinner? Or is
it's
this
an event, dude.
An event.
Yeah,
I like this.
And every week it's an event, and every week it's better than it was the week before. And
really,
I got involved the third event that they did, and immediately fell in love with it. A lot of what we do is we have food that's made in house. It's all vegetarian based. It's with the principle of healing at the same time that you're like this is about healing is what it is, you know. And so we provide food that's going to stimulate you and give you energy, you know what I mean. We also provide alcohol and drinks, but I have found that people after eating and, you know, getting involved, they don't want to drink, you know what I mean. They feel okay being how they are, being sober, you know. I mean, we allow smoking weed and shit like that. I mean, I smoke bud, you know. And like,
I mean, so do I. But...
Precisely, like it's whatever. But I find that like no one feels like they need to escape because this itself
is the escape.
Yeah, precisely.
This is what we all do the other stuff for.
Yeah, precisely.
To have this feeling.
Yeah. And so what we do is we invite local comics. We focus hard on showcasing the local talent, and we invite a bunch of local comics, and generally like 3 or 4 of them will say, yeah, I'm available to come out here on this date. And so that's why we invite so many.
Yeah.
Is so that we can definitely have like 2 to 4 people, you know, come out there. And then we do anywhere from half an hour to an hour comedy show, you know. It's really cool, really great time. We after that we do kind of a musical transition with our in-house musician, and he, well, I don't know why I'm saying and he, but then I go into the next portion of where we interview the comics and we actually try to get to know them and help the audience get to know them like as people, you know.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, precisely.
I'd love to hop on this whenever I could.
Dude, I'm telling you for sure. And actually, you live closer to our main venue than the one in Raleigh that we're doing. Yeah, but tomorrow we are doing our first featured show in Raleigh.
Where's it going to be at?
It's the address is 2213 Henslow Drive. It's a house. We do everything in a house, you know. And it's because it saves us money, and then secondly, it's because what we're trying to do is break away from the expectation that venues have come to cultivate, you know what I mean? Where, you know, you come in and you expect, I don't know. It's like, cause you're not here to spend money. You're not here to like pick up on women. And I mean, that's not to say like, if you meet someone out there, like it's looked down upon to fucking flirt or anything like that. It's just to say like, we want this to be a safe place. It's not because we're all pussies. It's because we're sensitive. We're artists. We enjoy art. You know what I mean? Like, I, for one, am not a pussy. I love anything that you can say. Like, I don't mind what the art is to an extent.
Yeah.
To an extent. I don't get offended, but I'll tell you it's not funny or it doesn't work or whatever. You know.
See, I appreciate that more. I'd rather have somebody be like, hey, dude, that's not going to work.
Yeah, precisely. Like
you'll have to either really, really rework that,
or just cut it out altogether because right now it's shit.
It's not worth it.
I'd
much rather have
that.
Shit too. Yeah. God, let's say, you know how much time that saves when somebody comes up to you and goes, hey, man, it's not personal, but that one you did,
shit.
I would stop. It's
garbage.
Shit. Don't do that. Because then I wouldn't sit there going, dude, just because I think it's funny, I should probably put it up because I think it's funny, right? I think it's funny, so that's what matters. And it's not it.
And that's why I like that Good Nights offers the workshops. Where, you know, they will come out there and you'll sit down with somewhat established comedians, you know what I mean, or comics who will, you know, actually help you work through your material and tell you whether or not that's going to work or if you should add taglines or, you know, you can riff a little bit on certain parts and things like that. They help you like understand how to structure it and make it so that you don't have to cut it out, but that it will work. You know what I mean? Because there are certain things that you can just say that would normally offend people, but you can't just blatantly come out and do it. You have to work the audience into it. You know what I mean? And that's why, like, I've, like, say for example, a lot of people will get their prominence. Like, say Mac Miller, for example, he started out as a party rapper. He was one of those frat rappers. You know what I mean? He'd come out and talk about getting fucked up and, you know, partying all the time. And then he gained his prominence, and then he started writing really serious material. You know? And I respect him a lot. I love him as an artist, you know, and he's actually, honestly, one of my ultimate goals in with my career was to get a feature with Mac. But that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, not so much anymore. I mean, we could Mel might be able to Tupac that thing and hologram him in or something.
Nah, that's disrespectful.
I totally agree.
That's rude as shit.
I totally agree with you. It's it's
you
just dragging somebody through the mud, dude.
But for sure, he had to experience some shit though, and you can hear the pain, and you can hear the growth, and you can hear all of it. You know what I mean?
I've been ever since the what was it, the MTV Music Awards. where Taylor Swift won
Yeah.
Artist of the Year over Post Malone.
Oh, what? I don't keep up with shit.
I don't keep up with it either, but
Yeah.
I heard about it, and that shit just pissed me off. I am so sick of her winning.
Yeah, I agree. Cause
have you listened to any of Post stuff?
I like Post Malone.
I like Post Malone.
I think he is an extremely multifaceted, multi-talented fucking artist, dude.
I agree, even though sometimes it sounds like he's just mumbling.
Well, the crazy thing is, though, he makes the rap that he makes. He does that for fun. He gets fucked up and raps, like, or at the very least, that's how it started. He was not serious about it. You know, he'd make these beats, get onto the tracks, and like really fucked up and just talk about random shit. Yeah. But that's all that the audience wants to hear now. They want to hear the escape.
They want to hear just random, and then they
want to be nullified
always want
and live a fantasy.
Yeah, they always want that hook. Yeah. Because that hook's what's going to set it. Yeah. And if you get the hook written, that's how I write. I don't know if you could probably tell, but I write the hook and then I write a song around it. See, I wrote when I wrote the Hobo Lady hook, I wrote that literally walking through the woods at work, just coming up with that on the fly. And then I sat down. I was like, because in my head it was different than how it ended up being. And I sat down with the guitar and I just found the chords that matched my. Because I've been playing guitar. Yeah, I don't even know, man. It's probably close to like almost 20 years.
Damn, dude, I'm jealous.
We're coming up on it just because I'm in my 30s. Yeah. You know, it's not 20 years yet. It's probably closer to like 15 or 16. Yeah. But I've been playing for a long time.
About 20 years.
And so, yeah, I'm getting there. You know, it's I'm not too far off of 20 years. Yeah. But yeah, so I sit down and I write the hook and then I'll write the song around it. And I sat there and I was like, well, homeless people, you know, and just start thinking about homeless people. Actually, before I had this whole setup, I used my phone and I would just sit down and I'd say the concept, I would say the chords I was playing, and then I would start just riffing on it and just playing the chord set that I have just over and over and over and over and over again, coming up with 30-40 lyrics for it. Some of them are absolute garbage. Some of them I never want anybody to hear ever. And then some of them you pick out of and you're like, okay, that's a good one. I'll take that. I'll take this. I'll take that. Sure. And then, but I got stumped and I couldn't write more than just like a first verse for that song. But I was really excited for the Hobo song.
But you told me you've been expanding on it though, no?
I have. Yeah. But I was so excited to get something new. Plus I was running up against a deadline for the Good Nights Comedy Challenge thing they got going on. NC's Funniest. And I was running up against that deadline. I hadn't done stand-up in I don't know how long. I had only done like 2 open mics prior to
honestly though, dude, to have gotten onto that list to compete means you're doing something right, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because there were 40 comics competing all together, and that's from the state, you know? And there are well over 40 comics in the state, all over the state, Charlotte, Greensboro, you know, all over the place, and to have gotten onto that list.
Yeah, I was excited. Right, sure. I was excited that I made it through to the semifinal round. Yeah. And I think there's a couple people. That's where I met Byron that night too. If you haven't heard of Byron Johnson, you can go back and check the first episode of my podcast.
Yeah, actually, I've talked to him a couple times.
And but that's where I met him. Me and him got hooked up. That's where I met Daryl Ransom. Daryl, if you listen. Judges, correct? No, Daryl is he's a guy out of Daryl, if you listen to this, I'm sorry if I'm gonna screw it up. I just don't know you that well yet, buddy. I'm gonna get you in here. We're gonna talk soon too. But I think he's out of like Durham. I want to say Durham. I think that comics challenge, the NC's Funniest comic, it was like his first night there. Huh.
Oh, dude. I think I remember him, but I'm not gonna try. To describe him.
No, there's no point in that. And but he was funny as shit. And he's the guy who's hitting me up and wanting about the possibility of doing that show at St. Aug.
Dude, I think I remember.
So there's a lot of good stuff came out of that first night. So it all goes back to me sitting in this garage, getting my life together, trying to get all this clutter cleaned up, writing stuff, and just wanting more more space, less clutter around, to free up my mind a little bit. Dude. And just start
that's
writing.
What the idea of feng shui is to provide a different flow of energy. You know? Yeah, and I know I keep like saying all this spacey shit, but
I'm into that.
That's the only way that psychological concepts make sense to me is if I think
you're saying a lot of shit where I'm like, man, I think about this shit all the time. I just never know how to fucking put it into words. And here he is putting it into words at 10 years, 12 years younger than I am. That's awesome, man. That makes me happy. I like sitting down and talking with younger people, especially the older I've gotten. Right. The more younger people I've met, the happier I am actually about the generation coming up. Everybody wants to complain and wants to bitch and wants to moan about all these fucking millennials and all this bullshit. Fuck off, man.
Well, you're technically still a millennial.
I'm technically, I'm on the first year, 84.
Yeah,
I'm that first year of millennial.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah. So, which is crazy to me. I think they had some people got all butthurt about it, I think, and they tried to make another generation. They called them like Zennials or something like that had a, what was it, analog childhood and digital adult. Because I grew up, Atari was out, but Atari wasn't like huge. Nintendo came around, and Nintendo was like the big thing. I remember when Nintendo, the original Nintendo, the cartridge Nintendo, blow on it to get it to work came out.
Oh yeah, I do remember those. I will say, however, I am not knowledgeable about I was born in 95, you feel me? So like there was a lot of technological advancements that were being experimented with, and that were kind of like assimilating into society and things like that. But like my friends had all this stuff. I grew up poor,
Yeah, dude.
I grew up from home to home and stuff
like that. Yeah, we
so
can dive into that because I'm sure we can parallel on that shit too.
Yeah, for sure. It was like, I never had access to anything. I didn't even have access to a computer till fucking middle school, dude.
Dude, I didn't have a computer. Yeah, in my house, I didn't have a computer until I think it was late middle school, maybe like early high school.
7th grade.
But it was a free computer.
Oh, shit.
That the school gave to me.
Hell yeah, dude.
Because they were getting rid of their old computers.
And they were like, you need to be able to operate Microsoft Excel.
Yeah, so they gave me a computer, and then I think I put a virus on it.
Were you watching porn, bro?
Within like the first... Dude, that was when... Oh, that's when old Brittany was first coming out. Dude, all right. So I remember having this computer and searching because they had like the fakes, the fake nudes were out there. So you go and search for those. And it's like the load screen, like you would literally, man, I don't know, like when you actually finally got internet access and were like, hey, let me look.
DSL and shit.
Yeah. But when it was like literally AOL Online, and you get the free discs in the mail. And you have like 3 months of free AOL, and then you'd wait for another disc to come in. You get another 3 months of AOL for free, and you just log in with a different email and username and share that with your friends. And then 3 months later, it changes again, like you're a drug dealer. So that's just how it worked, man. But like the loading of any image or anything would take like 10 minutes.
God,
so you really had to want to see it, and then the image would load, and then it would start to render. So, like, it wouldn't just load a clear image. It was like a blurry, pixelated image, and then it would render it. So you're sitting there literally waiting.
Goddamn, dude.
Dude, it took dedication. It took dedication.
Like, my generation does not have that patience.
There's no way.
I get frustrated if in my room.
Don't get me wrong. I don't have that patience now. Like, if that was it, I'd be throwing like, if I had to wait 30 minutes to load this program for us to record this, I would have thrown this shit out the window. I would have gotten a tape recorder. 3
Wi-Fi extenders on the way so that I can put them up in various points in my house because I don't receive the Wi-Fi very well in my room. I have the biggest room, you know what I mean? And I guess technically that's my trade-off, but I can nullify that problem with extenders. You know? So that's what I've got 3 on the way now, and because
our extenders was having to go to the store and be like, hey, can you make me 150-foot Ethernet cable? Which actually, if you look over by the door, you see that white cable dropping out of the door. That's the Ethernet cable that runs in here. Because I had this computer built. My cousin built it for me. But it didn't have Wi-Fi.
Dude.
So he built this thing up for me. It's got like, I don't know. It's got the i7.
To build a gaming computer, man.
That's what this basically is. Yeah. He basically built me. I was like, I need something that's going to be good for video, for audio, for everything. And he was like, dude, honestly, I'll just build you a gaming computer. So he built me the gaming computer, and I've had no problems except for every now and again, I think, and I'm going to be kind of out of my league here, but the thermal paste between, I think it's like the hard drive and something else, might not be the best because every now and again it'll just shut off. Like it'll just shut down. So I really hope it doesn't happen during a podcast. It's only happened a handful of times since I've had the computer.
But a handful is still a lot to...
It is, but at the same time, it doesn't... I can't pinpoint it because it doesn't happen when I'm doing this and I'm running the motherboard hard or the processor hard and everything like that. It happens when I'm like watching YouTube.
Oh, really?
It'll just crash. But I could have Photoshop, Premiere Pro, and Adobe Audition open all at the same time and running for an hour, 2 hours. Nothing will happen. I could shut the computer down, go inside the house, come back 3 hours later, come out here, pull up Netflix to watch like Schitt's Creek or something. It'll crash. It'll just freeze. It's weird, man.
See, I don't have much
I don't know.
savvy.
I don't know. My cousin keeps trying to be like, oh dang. My cousin keeps trying to say, you know, like, let me know what it looks like or what's going on when that happens. And I'm like, man, it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. It just happens.
Because I have like a monitor for it and everything like that, and I can listen to or look at all the temperatures and everything. But I don't know. Anyway, I feel like we're getting into like boring conversation.
Yeah, whatever, man.
we're talking about shit that's like right in front of us right now. Like, I don't want to talk about.
Hey, check out this thing you can't see.
Yeah, right. Look at this, man. This is awesome. Oh,
fucking.
shit.
I guess. Back. I should say back to like growing up poor, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay.
More than I grew up poor. I grew up from place to place, and I think also.
Were you in foster care?
Not originally. So what it was originally, it was like, all right. So my mom wasn't a great mom. She's an okay person, but she wasn't a great mom. She got involved with this dude after we moved from Virginia. I was like 4 years old.
So you were born in Virginia?
Yeah.
Spent like the first 4 years of your life there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I actually still have pretty vivid fucking memories, but there was a lot of abuse nonetheless, like all throughout like that early
like
start of my childhood.
Mental or like
physical?
Oh man, I'm
sure.
sorry.
No, it's whatever.
Hey man,
I'm
you're
grown
here
now. Yeah. It's okay. But I think that's what like that itself is what instilled like a lot of the anger, a lot of the oppositional, a lot of the, like defiance.
Yeah, for sure.
But
that's
I'm glad.
What you've known.
I'm glad that the life that I've lived is the life that I've lived. You know what I mean? Because like what happened was my mom met this dude. This dude did some really fucked up shit. He's in prison for the rest of his life. And then my mom relinquished her parental rights over myself and 5 of my siblings. So there's 6 of us all together.
Wow.
And then eventually she had another kid she hasn't told me about, but I know about him. You know?
Right.
And that's cool, you know, but it's like, it's whatever. But so she relinquished her rights. I lived with these people who were given to us, or that she gave us to, and they became our legal guardians. And all of us, aside from one of my sisters, my younger sister stays with her biological grandmother now. And actually, we have no contact with her. So I hope that eventually she hears this, you know what I mean? And she's like, oh, hey, shit.
Yeah.
I know that guy.
Yeah.
Like, all of us, we you know, we're placed with the same family, and they became our legal guardians. Not the same family, like, not like the same, you know,
house,
mother and father. It was like the same, like, extended family. So it was a mother, like a couple, and then another mother, and then that couple's daughter.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I follow.
And so like we were in the same family, but not the same immediate family.
Right.
You know, and so we all still kind of grew up separate from each other, but we grew up together, if that makes sense. And then when I was 13, I was still displaying a lot of behavioral problems.
Just like your brothers and sisters, you kind of grew up more like cousins.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But we've always known who the other was. And we've always had like...
I was just talking about the dynamic in general.
Yeah,
like, you weren't in the same house, but you still still were around each other.
Yeah, and we like...
Well, for cousins for me, I spent a lot of time with my
cousins. Like that's how it was for sure. Like how I would imagine anyway, spending time with your cousin. Like I'd see them, you know, anywhere from a couple times a week to like a couple times a month. You know what I mean? Yeah. As opposed to like every day or every second of every day.
I hate to say the word legit. That's the wrong word. As more like a
nuclear family.
Yeah, nuclear family. Yeah, like just every day, like kind of what I'm
precisely
raising here, trying to be different than what I had growing up.
Yeah.
But anyway, continue, man, because I'm interested.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So when I was around the time I was 12 or 13, I was still displaying. I was 12 actually. I was still displaying a lot of behavioral, psychological problems, whatever. My parents got me into, I call them parents now, but my guardians at the time, they got me into therapy, and they, you know, decided that I was a potential threat to myself and to the home environment, and so they put me in a group home. And
because that's exactly what somebody who's unstable needs.
Yeah.
To be bounced around in more instability, right?
Yeah, but I'm not going to blame them. They had my little sister and my brother to take care of too.
I mean, I get where they're coming from, but I'm really talking about the system in general.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, but the thing is, like, the way I think of it, like, I dream about having kids and things like that. Like I think about what I would name my daughter or especially my daughter. I always have had like a deep desire to have a daughter.
Really?
But I I can't see it, not in this society and not in this time. Maybe like 60 years ago, I would have had a kid, but not today.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I have two.
Yeah,
I just had one not long
and
ago.
I'm scared to raise a kid in this.
Dude, nobody knows.
You know,
I'm scared too.
Yeah,
and I'm sure I'll tell you this much. Like, I'm sure my mom was scared,
and I understand that.
You know what I mean? I'm
know.
sure my grandparents are scared. There's but if we don't, then I mean it's fine. It's your choice. Totally. I don't. I say this all the time. I don't want to force my feelings about children onto anybody.
No, for sure.
But I will tell you that the apprehensions you have, I mean,
a
it's
lot
not
of parents
change.
have.
Yeah, it's not. It's very much so.
I understand it,
Yeah.
but I also know that I deal with somewhat control issues. I deal with slight control issues for sure. I like daydream about how I would raise my kid, you know what I mean? And I would let them experience things for them. In my mind, I would let them experience things for themselves. I'd give them advice and I'd let them know, I've experienced this personally. I wouldn't do what you're going to do. Let them do what they do and then ask them, hey, what'd you learn? You know what I mean?
I could bring my daughter in here right now. I could literally get my daughter in here right now and I could ask her, what does daddy say after you fall?
Yeah.
What did you learn?
Yeah. What did you learn?
What did you learn? Well, I learned not to play on the steps.
Or did you learn how to utilize your body better? You know,
right?
Because as a poet, like that was one of my main goals in group homes. Was so in the group homes, the way they're set up, like you work on these goals. You have a PCP, which is a personalized something plan.
They should probably change the name of it,
right? Which is I've thought about that often. Actually.
Well, they got this plan called THC, and
I mean,
therapy, health, and care. You know?
Yeah, it's probably better to call it THC versus PCP. I think it's like personalized centered plan or something like that. But it's like you have a few main goals and a few like sub goals. You know what I mean? And one of my main goals. Well, I'll give you my three main goals. One was to control my violent outbursts. And learn to control my anger and rage. And then one of my others was to learn to integrate or like communicate with my peers more effectively. Because I hated everybody and I would fight everyone all the time. Yeah. And then my last one was to learn to control my impulses because I'm pretty sure I was a monkey in a past life, dude. My entire life loved climbing onto things, jumping off things, fucking learning how to use my body for sure. I'm a very primal, like animalistic person. I thrive in nature. Like I love climbing on shit. I love, I don't even know. Like whatever. I learned how to use my body really well.
Yeah. And
now it's gotten to the point where I can use my body based on muscle memory, but I can also analyze. Like I've learned logic and I understand, rationalizing and I understand judgment, you know what I mean? And so like, but I also understand faith, and so like, I don't know if you've ever been out in the back parking lot of Good Nights, but Mark Brady has witnessed me do this. In the very back parking lot, there is where the sidewalk ends, and then like where that random single tree is, and there's like a little fence around it. Yeah. Not fence, a little like I don't know how they call it, but you see it in gardens all the time. Yeah. That is a 15-foot gap. I've measured it. I jumped that gap. Yeah. With 3 steps, with 3 steps of a lead. And Mark Brady watched me and he's like, wow, you did that in chucks. I was like, dude, guess what? I can jump this. And I had only tried one time and I didn't quite make it the first time. But because I had someone watching me do it, I was like,
you felt that. You felt that need to have to
it's all about faith for sure. And that's why
skateboarding taught me a lot about that.
For sure, dude.
Skateboard, because like I haven't always been, 6'2", 280 pounds.
That's hard to believe. No,
it's hard to believe you've always been.
You were skinny once.
I was skinny once. I wasn't skinny like you skinny, but I was skinny once.
Fuck you, guy.
But skateboarding taught me that, man. It taught me to that faith or the belief that you have to believe you're going when you all right. So let me put it this way. When you launch yourself off of something that's 6 feet high and you have to clear a 10-foot gap and you're going 7 miles an hour or faster on a skateboard and the skateboard's not strapped to your feet, the skateboard's going to do what it's going to do in the air, but you control that. Now, imagine you're jumping off of that and you're spinning that board. Right. You have to have the belief and the faith and the confidence in your abilities and yourself to keep your feet where they need to be and fight that urge to turn and roll out of it and just fall because that's inevitable. But what's not inevitable is you landing it. And that comes all from within. And that's what that taught me about. That's what I can gather from skateboarding. It's taught me to the belief in yourself that, dude, it's not going to be the easiest thing. It's going to be scary and you're going to want to turn away. But if you just stick the landing.
But that brings me back around to the idea of the universe being chaotic and things too.
True.
Because there is that chance that you're not going to land it, even if you wholeheartedly
do it. You can still do everything you need to do, and then
learn how to
there's
bail,
a rock and boom.
Yep. You got to learn how to recover from fucking up, even if your expectation was
I know how. I learned very early on to do that roll out of fall.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that goes into what you're saying.
I do parkour, and that's a main protective procedure. Yeah.
So I learned that early on in life. Yep. Actually, I watched my cousin Little John. He's a second cousin of mine.
Little John.
Yeah. Okay. I watched him fall off of a mountain bike when I was younger, and when he fell, he rolled.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And I was like, you can do that? He's like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. He's like, you don't just flail and put your arms out. He's like, you're supposed to create contact and use physics for your advantage and roll out. He didn't use those words, but he was like, roll out of it.
Yeah,
you use your momentum in your favor and just roll out of it.
Precisely. It disperses any energy, because energy's got to go somewhere. Yep. You know what I mean? And if you allow it to just remain where it is, it's just going to expand and cause damage. Yep. But if you allow it to roll out, then
it's dispersed over many. It's like the bed of nails.
Yeah, precisely. And that's why cars move. That's why friction kinetic energy allows a car
look
to
at us
propel
going
forward,
all scientific up in this bitch. Didn't know what you were getting into today.
Well, the thing is, I'm on my mom's side. Well, I think it's my mom's side, but I'm not quite sure. But we're Welsh. Some of us were brought on slave ships. Some of us were, indentured servants, whatever. We were always we were at one time during hundreds and hundreds of years ago. We were royalty for sure.
That's on your mom's side?
Yeah. I've done a decent amount of research, and my family crest is actually pretty fucking dope. It's badass, dude.
Dude, we'll have to pull it up. I want to see it.
My last name is Gwyn, which means something along the lines of fair skin or of white skin, really white person. Which is funny because I'm yellow.
Yeah, what do I say?
I guess that's super white, huh?
Yeah, right.
But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so I hail from a tradition of magic and witches, magic users. You know what I mean? And I myself, as a schizo, you know what I mean, definitely believe in magic or agree with magic, but also living within a 3D dimension, living within the third dimension and living within a shared collective reality, have to understand that other people aren't gonna be like that. And so there's always conflict, you know what I mean, where was that real, or can I make that logical? Can I, use rationality to fucking prove that this happened because of a certain thing. And so what I like to do now is understand magic as science. That's what science is. Science is magic. The idea of there being healing properties in herbs and certain other medicines and things like that, similar to food. Food itself is medicine. You just got to know how to prepare all of it. I use a basis of science to think about be a warlock of sorts. I call myself a warlock, whatever.
All right.
And so there's this one practice that I like to do. It's a concentration practice where you play with a flame. You know what I mean? And I love watching candles, and I love dicking around with the flame and just communicating with it, talking to it. I don't know if you remember the movie with John Travolta from the 90s. It's called
called Fuck. Let me Google that.
No, that's
Travolta,
not what it's called.
Fuck from the 90s.
It's called, God damn it, dude. It's right on the tip of my tongue, dude. It starts with a P.
Oh, man.
It's a phenomenon. There we go.
Okay. Sidebar. Every time I hear that, do you remember the Muppets?
I do remember the Muppets, but not a specific episode.
But every time I hear the word phenomenon, I hear phenomenon. 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 Oh,
shit.
you're good, buddy. Don't worry about it.
Man.
You can't unhear it now, can you?
No, I can't. Fuck you.
Phenomena.
But I was gonna say though, like in that movie, he, gains these abilities, these psychokinetic abilities. He can move things with his mind.
I think I vaguely remember that movie.
Yeah, and
I don't know if I actually watched it, but I do vaguely, remember hearing about. Like now that you're talking about being able to move, I remember seeing John Travolta going, "Whoa!"
Yeah, like he's got this like bright flash of light when he steps out on. And this is also probably why I'm schizophrenic, is because of watching shit like this growing up. he like steps out into the street one day and like a bright ass light just goes over him. He passes out and he wakes up with telekinetic abilities, and he's discovered by the government, and they run some tests on him and things like that. And he's sitting in this testing room and he's just rolling a pencil back and forth by flicking his fingers back and forth. And they ask him, "How do you do that? Like, what's your process?" And he's like, "Well, you have to talk to it. You have to have a conversation with it, and you have to ask it if it will move for you. You can't make it do anything. It's nothing in this universe can." And I'm like kind of paraphrasing or even adding shit now, but nothing in this world is gonna do anything because you tell it to. You have to give it incentive. You know what I mean? You have to coax it into doing so, and that's what I do with the fire. I ask it, to move toward my hand, or I ask it to stop dancing so much. I ask it to stiffen up, and it works. You know what I mean? But also, think about it. Every atom is created of proton and neutron and electrons surrounding the proton and the neutron. The valence electrons are the outside of the atom. All right, electrons are negatively charged. All right, and electrons surround every atom. Every molecule.
Yeah.
Electrons are surrounding that. That's why you've heard technically you're never touching anything, is because negative versus negative causes propulsion. It doesn't attract. You know? So what happens when an electron, like when an atom loses its valence electrons, is that it goes into a bit of a chaotic state. It becomes excited, and that can cause combustion. You know what I mean? And that's literally what's happening, is that it's searching for its partner electron, so that it can stabilize, so it no longer is excited. And that's why when you put your hand over it, it becomes attracted, because it is finding that electron somewhere, you know what I mean? And I don't know where.
Yeah.
But then when you learn how to move your hands in certain ways, you learn how to manipulate the fire and make it search elsewhere on different parts of your hand and make it become still, or let it dance, or let it move towards you,
this is just a skeptic in me, and I'm not downing you at all. Could that just be like air moving differently off of your hand?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Sure. But I've experimented with it in many different environments.
Right.
Like in my closet, for example. My closet is soundproofed. It's airproof. Like there's nothing is getting in, nothing is getting out. Yeah, precisely. Like nothing's getting in, nothing's getting out. And I burn candles in there all the time. And generally it's not wavering so much unless I'm talking toward it. Flame. Yeah, precisely. And so I play with it. You know what I mean? And I make it dance or whatever. But like you said, it could be just air, whatever.
I'm always what you'll find out because I'm sure we're going to continue talking more even after today.
I mean, that's what conversation's all about.
I'm more of a skeptic. Yeah. And I'm not saying when I go into like skeptic mode that I don't believe what a person is saying. I have questions and I want to ask the questions.
The thing about it, like the thing about thinking, I was just discussing this with someone else. Like a buddy of mine asked me this question. He was like, "Do you really think, or do you just receive information and spill it out into the world if it fits your agenda?" And I was like, that's a good question.
It is a good question.
And I thought about it. What is the difference between thinking and just receiving random information? You know what I mean? And I think thinking is receiving that information, sure. But it's not just receiving that information. It's also receiving opposing information. It's receiving information that dispels that information that you previously received. It's the same concept as writing a research paper, on controversial topics or whatever. You go into it and you find, information there. It's always going to be biased, but you find, or biased to an extent. You know what I mean? Like say for example, in high school and college, you were told to choose a specific viewpoint and find information to support your viewpoint. But within that paper also, you have to provide information that negates whatever your viewpoint is, or find information that supports the opposite of what you're saying. You know what I mean? But still be able to write a conclusion as to why the information that you found makes the most sense to you, or whatever, or why that proves your side more than the opposite does. And so that's you're just thinking, you know what I mean? To come at me with skepticism, to come at me with skepticism is not different than writing a research paper.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I'm not a scientist. I am remembering and spewing out information that I remember from high school, you know what I mean? High school and college. And, you know,
shit, I done forgot most of the stuff I learned in high school.
Yeah, and all I'm doing with that information now is very similar to molding it so that I understand how the world works, and like how, because everything is everything. Music is the same as visuals that you see on TV. Like, have you ever? I'm sure you've used psychedelics, but like,
honestly, I haven't.
Really?
Yeah, no, I'm not opposed to it. I didn't have like this crazy experimental phase with drugs when I was younger. I smoked some weed, and I didn't really smoke weed again until I got older. And then even now, it's not all the time. But I do enjoy it. But I'm not opposed to it, and I do want to try it, but I think I would rather it be. I don't want it to be like this recreational. Oh, we're just getting high. We're gonna eat some mushrooms. I don't want that. I want it to be more of a spiritual. This is gonna sound cheesy.
No,
but
it's
I
not.
want it to be like a spiritual like journey. I hear a lot of people, they'll go and they'll do it, and they come back and they just think differently. They see things differently, and I live for those epiphanal moments. I don't even know if that's a word, but I don't know. The moments of
epiphany. It sounds like it could be a
word.
Be,
right?
If we use it enough, it'll get added to the dictionary.
Hashtag epiphanal. Yeah, right. He's like,
hashtag make it a word, bitch.
Yeah, right. But I live for those kind of moments, because that's where you change and you grow when you have these moments of clarity. And I feel like there's definitely parts of my brain that are like sealed off.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, that I'd like to just kind of dive into a little bit. But
and see, that's
my biggest fear is I just don't want to have like a bad trip.
See, but
even the bad ones, I still think you could pull something away from it. But I think with the mindset you go into it is what you're going to get from it.
That is absolutely true.
So I'd like to do it, and I'd really like to be in like nature. I'd like to find like a real clear night and find like no city lights, and just have a night where I could really see like the stars, or out where the mountains, or like something like that. Just, I don't know, more of like a spiritual journey than a drug use.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, I definitely had like my extensive, use and share of, drug abuse. Like I was addicted to cocaine for quite a while. And I mean, I won't say that I'm opposed to it now, but I will not utilize it except for the sake of having fun, because I used it for the sake of functioning a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That Adderall, and then I would come down with Xans and alcohol, and like I hear all these kids talking about Xans in their music and shit now, and it's like, bro, you are promoting, like, and it's glorifying it more than I talk about it a lot in my music, you know what I mean? And I'm not going to say that I'm better than anyone, but I am going to say that the purpose of me talking about it in my music isn't to glorify, romanticize it. It's to let you know, like, this is a very real situation, and this is how it's affected me so far, be it negative or positive in this particular experience or this particular moment. It is still an experience nonetheless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to let people know that, utilizing drugs does really put you in makes you a different person than who you are.
It does.
And so you got to know why you're using it. And that's why, like, so the job that I had, and I'm not going to say names, but fuck that place. The job that I had, I almost killed a guy, like, quite legitimately. I was a manager. I was really I'd been up for 3 days. I was closing out my final shift, and these three motherfuckers come up banging on the glass. My final shift of the weekend.
Yeah.
Before I had 2 days off, these motherfuckers come banging on the glass, and they're fucked up, and they're like, "Bro, open the door." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm not serving you guys. I'm not selling any more food. I'm closed. I'm trying to close the store." And they keep banging on the glass, and I go to the glass, and I'm like, "Yo, for real, you got to go because I'm not serving any more food. And they're like, come on, man. I'm like, bro, we're closed. And he's like, you're not going to serve us for real? And I was like, no, nigga, get out of here. And the dude mushed me in my forehead and told me, fuck you. So I'm not going to utilize this as an excuse, but I will say that, you know, I could have thought a little more rationally if I had slept that night or the night before.
Yeah, I mean, well,
I would have slept that night or the night before if I hadn't used a shit ton of
past 2 nights.
Yeah, precisely.
Totally, I've been up for 36 hours.
Precisely, dude. And like I was like, yo, we got a problem. And he was like, yo, we got a fucking problem. And I'm like trying to take my apron off. I can't get it off, so I cut it off. And like I cut it off and go out with the intent of killing this person because now I've drawn my knife, you know what I mean? And I can't, like, I am only able to understand my thought process during the situation after leaving the situation, you know what I mean? Because I thought I was justified at that time. I thought that I had every right to kill this motherfucker. But if it wasn't for my driver coming, the driver who was helping me close, coming out and literally, like, fucking choking me out and dragging me into the store and locking the door behind me, I probably would have killed that dude that night, you know what I mean? Or been killed, you know?
Yeah.
And so, like, after that, I quit.
This is all stemming from the drug use.
Oh, yeah, precisely. Yeah. And what's crazy, well, I fucked up a dude one night, fucked up on Xans, and I don't quite remember it. But
How can you mess anybody up when you're messed up on? The only time I've never done it, but I have. Yeah, I have had
dude,
it. But like, it just puts you to sleep. It just puts me to sleep. I just go sleep. I don't like doing it because that's all it does. It just puts me to sleep.
Really slurry and really like excited for violence. Like I really wanted to fuck shit up.
Really?
Yeah, like all the time.
It's totally opposite. Me, I was just like within 20 minutes, I just want to go to bed. That's why I don't mess with. I don't like pills anyway.
Yeah,
I'm not a big pill person.
I don't deal with like a lot of anxiety. You know what I mean? I'm not an anxious person.
Oh my god,
and
I get anxious a lot
because I was using it for the sake of, you know what I mean? Like I've even used it after tripping before to come down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it completely shifts the vibe. You know, I had heard from other people who had done the same. You know that it would make it easier, almost more mellow to come down after tripping hard as fuck.
Yeah,
pop is in. And no, it wasn't quite the same for me. It was like I also used Roxy's. I've only tried Roxy's once after tripping one day with an ex, and it distorted my visuals to a point where I thought like I was scared of shit, dude. I was scared shitless.
So,
I was like,
as somebody who's oblivious, what's Roxy?
Roxy's are, I don't know exactly what they are. They're like there's some kind of pain meds.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about.
I don't want to try to like
med.
I don't want to try. I'm pretty sure they're benzos, but I don't know for sure. Or they actually might be opioids. But I'm not quite sure. But
But they're in that family.
Yeah, and the thing is, I didn't snort a significant amount. I took probably like, I don't even know, like, I think it was active. It was like 30 milligrams, and I took like a quarter of it, so maybe 8 to 10 milligrams.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And fucking, it fucked me up, dude. It was scary.
It seems like you're having trouble talking about it. Man.
It was fucking scary, dude. I saw demons. Like people would talk about having weird hallucinations and shit, and quite legitimately, like as a schizo, like a common characteristic or a common.
Okay, so when you say schizo, like, I know there's like there's like different levels to that though.
Yeah, there's functioning, there's onset, there's like borderline psychotic, there's but there are different characteristics, and there are different other what's the word I'm looking for? Other diagnoses kind of that stem and accumulate to create schizophrenia, and so like schizophrenia itself is broad. It's a range of things that can be inclusive to a point of of being delusional.
Somebody could be classified as schizophrenic, and it'd be like just borderline.
Yeah, onset.
Yeah, onset. But they have that stigma that comes with the people who have it like the worst.
Precisely. Like my doctor told me that I'm functioning, but I do still, you know what I mean, have these characteristics, and so I'm supposed to implement these healthy practices to help me learn to decipher reality versus fantasy. And I struggle with that. I always have, and it wasn't. Do these?
I'm just curious about the thing. I've only known really one other person who's had a version of this, and he had the voices. Like he'd have voices and talk to the voices and stuff. And I was like, are they talking to you now? He's like, no. And then he would tell me like, hey, they're, and I didn't have a problem with it, because I never felt any kind of threat from him. I was like, are any of the voices some bad voices? He's like, yeah, there's some of them that are bad.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was like, so it's intriguing to me because a lot of people don't really understand it. And I'm kind of one of those people, but I kind of get it. I've dealt with it a little bit, but not really. So like,
well, for me, I have visual and auditory hallucinations. I see like schizo. I think it's a biological or a genetic advantage, honestly, because it makes you. We came from a state of needing to survive. You know what I mean? And now we live in a state of comfort to the point where, and that's why so many people deal with anxiety, is because it's a remnant of fear that used to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where we don't quite need fear.
Well, we've come a long way from having to worry about being hunted.
Precisely.
Now we don't have that worry. Yeah, we don't have that worry anymore.
We live in a state of comfort, and that's why anxiety is here. But schizophrenia itself is kind of a more biological. It's very similar to like Asperger's and other, you know what I mean, to me. And I'm not gonna, like, because I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not gonna try to like make any quotes to be fact or to be truth or anything like that. But based on the way that I think about it, I think it's an advantage for sure, because I notice everything. I receive information at probably 20 times the speed, 100 times the speed as most people. I told you earlier when I think even while we were recording, that when I see a person, you know what I mean, that I think is a threat, I see.
Yeah, you talk about this on the ride here.
Hundreds of thousands of ways to incapacitate this person. And it's not to say that I'm physically able to. It's just to say that I know how to at least, you know what I mean, position myself and get myself prepared, because it is chaotic and somebody might be a significantly better fighter than me, so I could get beat. But
there's a part of that that's, I think, is kind of like you're saying, is biological. That's just kind of ingrained into where we came from as hunter-gatherers. Being able to assess a threat or assess something that's going to be a threat. At least I do this constantly. I mean, while I'm driving, I'm like, well, if this person slams on brakes, I've got this out, and this out.
And that's strategy.
You know what I mean? But I'm constantly doing that with every moment in my life. I feel like I'm always like
trying to plan
strategic. You know, like, okay, if this happens, I'm doing this. Or when my mind has a second to think. That's kind of what it thinks about.
Yeah, and then it gets to the point too where it's more than like chess. Like, it's more like a game of chess as a master versus someone who is a novice. You know what I mean? Like say for example, I was driving one day and I knew that this lady was going to pull out. I knew she wasn't paying attention. I knew exactly what she was going to do, and so I controlled the situation by going ahead and maneuvering in a way where she and I couldn't collide.
I'm on 40 every single day, and that's exactly what it feels like. I feel like I'm just premeditating other people's moves.
Yep. And you got to be like that. You know what I mean? Because the thing about our society is that there are a lot of sheep and very few shepherds, you know, and I'm not saying anyone specifically, but in traffic, you know what I mean, there is a lot of chaos. And so you have to be really defensive. And people, especially in this state, are afraid to drive. People are afraid of things that they don't understand or they don't know. And so they are really super cautious, or or even not even paying attention to what they're supposed to be doing, because we're so fucking dual-minded nowadays, and that's good. It's good. Like, ADHD isn't necessarily bad. I
don't necessarily see that as a problem. Bad. Yeah. You're able to function on two things at the same time. I don't think it's a bad thing.
That's an advantage also.
I mean, I have to have some form of it to be able to sit here with you and adjust our audio levels and paying attention all the time and all this other stuff that's going on at the same time.
Same with my job, and same with everything. Exactly. A lot of things that we do nowadays, you have to be paying attention to multiple things at once, But that's what I was going to say, is that people, some people aren't able to do that. You know what I mean? And so they get distracted or whatever, or they're afraid of things or whatever, you know what I mean? And then, so basically they either will not make a good decision or they're going to make the wrong decision. And a lot of times you have to take control of the situation and make the decision for them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Be it you pass them, or be it that you fucking whatever.
Shit, even on the ride here, there was a lady, when we're sitting here talking, there was a lady who was trying to get over. I knew what she was going to try and do. She came up beside me a little bit fast, realized she wasn't going to be able to get over, hit the brakes, was going to try and get behind me, but I just slowed down because she was already right in front of me. Just go ahead and let her get over, do her thing, because she wasn't even need to be in my lane. She needed to be in the lane beside me, and it was an exit. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just paying attention.
Yeah, precisely. And see, the thing is, too, because Well, when you get into a state of comfort, you don't notice things like that, because I didn't notice that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's so easy to, get immersed into things that make you feel comfortable or satisfy you or whatever. And that's why, like, it's more than just like, a biological or even, genetic thing too. It's very much with the upbringing as well.
Yeah. I was actually going to touch on that too. I think that it comes from the more I talk to people, and we touched on this a little bit when we were riding here, the more people I talk to, the wider my view of the world is and other people's lives and how they came up. And you're able to, like, not like what you're saying, I'm not a scientist by any means. I'm just able to see patterns,
right,
and trends,
right,
and put them together and then, subgroup them and all that just real quick. But being able to sit down and talk with people and getting another view on something is priceless.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with that. But that
coming
also
back to that
makes
it's like the more people I talk to who had like a similar upbringing as me, like I didn't have to go through homes and stuff like that.
Right.
But it was just me and my mom for a long time, and then there was abusive stepfathers, alcoholics. There was a lot of shit that I had to deal with that the average person's not going to have to deal with, that might have made me more aware of my surroundings and everything that's happening now.
Precisely,
because of my upbringing, I've had to pay attention. There was a point in time in my life where my mom was married to this guy. I'm not going to say his name because he's a different person now, and I believe everybody has an opportunity to change.
Right.
But he's a totally different person now. He's got his own son. They have a great life. I'm not trying to ruin anybody, but he was an alcoholic. And he would come home and he'd be aggressive. And every now and again he would come into my room, but he never like hit me and never did anything like sexual or anything. But he
would just intimidate.
It's very intimidating because I'm
assert his
6 or 7 at this time, and when an adult comes in and they're inebriated, and as a kid that something's not right, something's a little different.
Kids
and they
are
come
very
in, they're
spiritually
aggressive,
aware of things, I feel like.
There was a time. Well, anyway, to get to the point of that was there. I got nervous for him coming home when I would go to bed and he wasn't home yet. I mean, he was out drinking, so I would actually literally set up, like, my door would open to a certain point. I'd find the apex of the door. I would put my book bag right there, and then from my book bag to about 3 foot past my book bag, I'd lay thumbtacks. So that if he walked in, maybe he'd trip or try and step over the book bag and not notice the thumbtacks. He would step on those, and hopefully being barefoot, scream, wake me up and give me the opportunity to do something.
Yeah.
But that's at a young age.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would cry if my daughter had to go through that now. I can only imagine what my mom was thinking. She dealt with the guy. Same guy came home drunk and held a gun to her head. And my mom has bigger balls than anybody I've ever met for doing what she did and what she's had to go through. My mom's got an interesting story too, but we have a really tight bond. But he held the gun to her head, and she, without a beat, just stepped straight to it and put her forehead on it and said, "You better hope that bullet kills me, because if it doesn't, I'm coming for you."
She took his power away.
She took the power away, and then he cried. He took the gun down and cried, and within like a day, I think it was like the next day, we were gone. And but
damn right.
To his credit, not necessarily credit, but to his defense, I don't know his whole story, but I don't think he had the best upbringing either. I think he might have been introduced to a lot of violence. There was one time he came home and I had done something at school, and my mom couldn't talk to me, didn't want to talk to me. She was mad or something, and she wanted him to come in there and talk to me and discipline me, and they basically give me a spanking, because I was one of those got whooped when I was growing up.
Same. I agree with it.
Yeah. I don't necessarily disagree with it. I don't whoop my kids, but my kids have never given me a reason to. I've never been that angry
and it's with the upbringing.
Yeah. I think I have just a respect for that kind of thing. Yeah. Like it's tough for my kids to piss me off that much. I have a lot of patience with them in that aspect. I can get really childish with them. I can get down. I can drop down to their level a lot, but I try not to. But
be petty.
Yeah, I can.
I mean, that's sometimes
dude,
how you teach a lesson.
It happens the most with my oldest daughter. I'll get petty as shit, and it's just. And after it happens, I'm like, God damn it, Brandon, what the fuck are you doing? These are kids. She's your kid. Why are you getting so petty?
Dude, I mean, sometimes they gotta learn though. You know?
That's how I feel. Sometimes they just gotta learn. They gotta learn sometimes. But to this guy's credit, I don't think he had the best upbringing. And the only reason I even say that, because I didn't get a chance to know him. I was too young.
Right.
He did come in. He came in my room that night to discipline me. And he sat on my bed, and he was drunk. And he just started crying. And he said, you know, my dad used to beat me. And he's like, I can't do that. I don't want to be that kind of a dad. And he said, so what I'm gonna need you to do is just act like I gave you a whooping. He's like, I'm gonna squeeze your thigh. And it wasn't like up high. It was like a natural, you know, where you have like that tickle spot on your leg. It was like just below that. He's like, I'm gonna squeeze your thigh a little hard. He's like, just so you know, it hurt. And he's like, so you'll scream. And I was like, all right. He's like, just make it sound like I'm whooping you. I was like, all right. So he did that, and it made it sound like he was whooping me. And he walked out, and I didn't get a whooping that night. And I gained a little respect for it and how to handle situations. It taught me just a little bit. It gave me a little bit of perspective, and at a young age, to not. I can't, like, now looking back, I can't vilify him. You know, I can't just sit there and just drill him into the ground. There's no point in that. Plus, the guy, he's changed. He's changed. I saw him at my uncle's funeral. There's no point in
it. But I will say, you know, you and I had a very similar experience actually, but also quite opposite.
Yeah.
Where my stepdad was abusive to both myself, my little sister, and my mom. You know, very like evil man.
Yeah.
His family the same, very evil people. But they weren't evil to him; they were evil to us. You know, they're very ritualistic voodoo types, voodoo practicing people. You know, also a lot of inbreeding, like a lot of just really fucked up shit happening, you know. Damn. And I mean, inbreeding, whatever. I'm not going to touch on it too much, but there are too many people in this fucking world to be having sex with your family. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think I can. I don't take too many hardcore positions on this podcast, but I can say I'm pretty much against inbreeding.
Yeah, dude, there are way too
100%.
I could understand like in the fucking first couple hundred years.
Okay, maybe if we had like a nuclear fallout and there was like 1,000 people left on Earth, it's gonna happen. I mean, that's, you know what I mean? But
yeah, no, that's pretty gross. But like, he was very abusive, and I'm glad he is where he is because
he's the guy who's in prison now.
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, he was given the opportunity to take a plea bargain for a lot of the shit that he had done, and he would have only gotten, you know, like up to 25 years or something like that. And I told my guardian at the time, I was like, yeah, nah, I hope he doesn't take it because I'll meet him and I'll fucking kill him. You know, and I truly meant it, and I truly meant it.
I feel it.
I truly
feel
meant
that you meant that.
Like, for fucking like years, dude. And honestly, I don't hate him. It's whatever. Like I'm not over it, but like I'm grown, you know, and there's no point in thinking about it. But I think I do think of, or there's no point in being pressed over it.
Yeah.
I do think about it, and I learn. I try, and that's what makes it difficult to be me. Is because I try not to fall, and I try not to follow my mom's, you know, pattern, any of the patterns that she has. But I smoke cigarettes. I started smoking cigs when I was 12. She started smoking cigs when she was about 12. You know what I mean? Like, I say in one song, like, single mother spewed me a bastard. 19 years old, to think of accomplishments, I'm glad I surpassed her. Literally just saying, like, I went to college, you know, whatever. I didn't have any kids at 19. Like, I don't have any kids now, thankfully.
Dude, my mom had me, she was 20.
And that's not a problem.
No. And my grandmother had her when she was 20.
The problem lies in
my first kids, I was like 30.
You can't fucking take care of your kids. You know what I mean? Or you're so psychologically unstable that, you know, you allow other people to take care of your kids who don't take care of your kids. They're not their kids. Why the fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was blessed to find a family that cared enough, at the very least, so much for us that they saw that my behavioral problems and my mental instabilities were problematic for the safety and the upbringing of my little sister and my brother. You know what I mean? Like, they figured, it's not so much that they figured I was a lost cause. They didn't think I was a lost cause. They cared so much that they put me somewhere where I was forced to pay attention. You know what I mean? I was forced to be taught. I was forced to learn something, because otherwise, you know, I had to be conditioned to take direction, because even still, otherwise, like, I'm still an oppositional person. I still think for myself. I'm still pretty defiant, but I do understand the Tao of paradox, if you will, that Sun Tzu mentions in The Art of War. understanding that, you know, I got to do what I got to do to get to where I want to be. You know what I mean? And sometimes that means taking direction, even if I don't want it. Yeah. And that also teaches you things. Sometimes
that's kind of where I'm at now.
You have to take direction from someone who's well more qualified to do the position that you're doing. You know what I mean? And so when they tell you something, they more than likely are telling you the right thing. You know what I mean? And so that's helped me learn to see.
It's not worth their time to teach you something that's not the right thing.
Precisely. You know what I mean? Because otherwise they lose money, and so do I. Yeah. You know, and it's like, I don't know. It's just to say, I'm grown now, and I'm trying to find enlightenment. 23?
Yeah, you sound pretty grown for 23.
I'm trying to find my enlightenment, and I'm trying to get to the point where I could die at any moment and be satisfied with the life that I had.
I think I don't know much more about what you've had going on or what you have going on, but I think that you just like accepting that if it happens on the way home now, you should be okay with it.
Yeah, precisely.
You know what I mean? Like there shouldn't be.
There are no loose ends.
Right. Like don't hold on to shit. Yeah. Let shit go because it's not worth it. All it does is it stews inside you and comes out in the form of anger towards people you don't want it to come out at.
But I will say though that it does make for good material, and it does make for good a good reflection. You know what I mean? And understanding certain things that I'm doing, and then like I can see that similar pattern in something that my mom or my stepdad did, and see that it didn't work for them, so maybe I should manipulate it and try it some way else.
It's the hope of, I think it's the hope of all parents that their children do better than what they did. Yeah. And my mom told me that a long time ago, and I've already surpassed her. We've talked about this. I've surpassed anything that my mom's accomplished for herself. For sure. At the age that I'm at. I bought this house. I mean, and statistically speaking,
pretty nice house.
Thanks, man. You've only seen the garage, but it's statistically speaking, I shouldn't be where I'm at. I grew up with just my mom, and my dad, who especially on this dude, I work so fucking hard. Anyway, my dad, biological dad, he's not a piece of shit. He just, I look back, I have the gift of reflection now, and and experience and life experience and things to reflect on, and I'm able to look back on the situation that they were in. So basically, my mom was pregnant with me, and it was between like two people. She was dating two guys at the time. She was 20. I don't fault her at all for what she was doing. Right. You know, she was fucking 20.
Yeah, no.
You know,
and I mean that happens.
So were they. You know, they were like maybe like a year or two older than her because they were able to get in the bars and stuff. And she didn't have like the best of upbringings, but you know, she's like one of those kind of people at 20 is gonna be at a bar, and plus it's the 80s, you know, and so. It came between two people, and one person was just, I lived at the beach. The other person was local, and they had like a DNA test done, and my biological dad had a lawyer that said that my blood type and his blood type, it's impossible. Their two blood types is impossible. Like my mom's and his is impossible to make my blood type. I don't know. I don't. And so like, that's kind of how my mom was. She's like, oh, okay. And then he kind of hung around until I was like, I don't know. I can't remember exactly how old I was. It was right around the time that she was married to the guy who came home, and I had to be worried about all that shit. And then like he kind of disappeared out of my life for a while, and but he was never like there. He was like, you know, every now and again I'd hang out with him, and I didn't call him dad. He was my mom's friend. Huh. You know what I mean? So like I didn't know he was my dad.
Damn, dude,
you know,
that's
so
interesting.
I was hanging out with him this whole time, and because my mom didn't know. Yeah. And he didn't.
And yeah, you don't want to give you the wrong impression for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I got pictures. If he's
not willing to take
dude, I have a picture. If I wish I had it in here. I got a picture of him holding me as a baby, and you would swear to God it was me holding one of my kids. You know, like, how did you even guess that this guy wasn't your dad? Like, how are you that? How can you not be that? You know, it's like looking in a fucking mirror, like and being like, that's not a person. You know what I mean? That's somebody totally different. But anyway, so it was like I was probably in my like late teens, early 20s before I found out he was my biological dad, but I hadn't had any contact with him. And it left me and my mom in a weird position, and being able to pull from that though, and being able to be there for my kids means a lot more. And I see where I fault myself, or where my faults lie with raising my children,
Right.
because I didn't have the example to go by. I'm making it up on the fly,
Right.
you know. So I didn't have like a dad to pull from experiences when I was younger
Same.
to portray.
I learned a lot of shit from cartoons, actually.
Dude, TV taught me the most. My whole life is a fucking sitcom in my head. In my head, I have a laugh track going all the time.
Same.
Constantly. There's a laugh track. There's people clapping.
You might be a schizo too.
I might be, you know, functioning or something, you know. But there's a laugh track, so everything to me is funny. That's why when I get on stage and like it doesn't go the way it is in my head, it throws me off, and then I'm like, well, fuck, maybe I'm not funny. But who cares, man?
I will say, I keep coming back around to the idea of schizo or whatever. I will say, by the way, that all of these conditions, you know, that your doctor can tell you whatever, you know, they're man-made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like that doesn't confine
it's
to
just
me
putting
personally.
a label on it.
It doesn't confine me to anything. Yeah, and that's why like when people call me a rapper, you know, I'm like, I'm not a rapper, I'm a writer. You know, that's if I go by any label, that's what I would go by. I'm a lyricist. You know what I mean?
I like that.
I like to write because I write more than just hip hop. I write spoken word. I'm working on a novel right now.
Are you?
Yeah,
that's
dude.
Interesting, man.
It's really interesting, actually.
He's like, oh, let me just.
I'm not gonna talk about it too much.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I'm gonna be producing it and hopefully.
Do you have a timeline for it?
I know.
Or is this just one of those?
So I started writing it in 2012.
Okay.
I only wrote less than half of it, and I have recently gone and started editing it because you can tell I'm fucking 16 when I wrote it.
Right.
You know, and I'm going back, and I mean the protagonist, she's 15 in the book, you know, and her brother is 23, which is where I am now, you know. And it's not to say that her brother and I are alike, but
it gives you the perspective of a 23-year-old.
Right. And so I can. It's not. I'm not going to delve too much into it.
Like I said, you don't have to jump into it. I was just wondering if we had I didn't know how far along or how you're close to releasing it, or we can go ahead and schedule another one of these things to promote it when you get done.
I will say that it's probably going to take me upwards of a year to finish the editing that I need to finish.
Maybe by that time I'll have enough legitimate followers that it'd be like legitimate for you to come on and actually come on and do this.
I'm going to release it under a pseudonym. I'm not releasing it under myself because it's told from the perspective of a person that I knew personally, and it's her story and not mine, because I no longer have contact with this person. I can't receive her permission to release it under my name or to even release the story in the first place. So, I'm going to, because it's my work. Yeah. But because it's her perspective.
It's her perspective
from my perspective.
Yeah. You know, it's not the same.
It's a really touchy subject, very touchy. In fact, it may receive some backlash, but that's what I want. I'm a fucking artist, and that's what you're supposed to do. Go against the grain, except for when shaving. I learned that from American Dad.
Speaking of being raised by TV, huh? Yeah. That's awesome, dude. So you got a lot of stuff in the works. I'd like to talk more about your music, and because that's one of the main reasons I wanted to get you on, was to learn a little bit more about your music and stuff, learn more about you. So with your music, how long you been actually doing music? Has it just always been you're gonna be one of those guys who's kind of like me, who's just always kind of been in me and just had to find a way to get it out?
Well, kind of. I mean, I've been a writer since I was 8. I've been a focused writer since I was 8. I mean, even before then, I made little songs and things like that, and I've always been very musically inclined in that regard, or very lyrically inclined, I should say, in that regard. I've always been able to find time. I've always been able to keep up with time. I've always been able to find the rhythm. I've always been able to do whatever, certain cadences.
It's interesting.
Accents.
When did you realize you were able to keep up with timing? Because I remember the time I was able to. I remember the day.
By the time I was 8.
I don't remember the song, but I remember listening to country music, sitting in my mom's beat up car in my aunt's driveway, and we're pulling in, and I'm just noticing a pattern. It's like what we were talking about earlier. I was just noticing patterns. And so when I heard the snare hit, that and you get that 4/4 timing, and that's when I didn't know what that was at the time, but I would do like this. And I would just keep up with that one little time. I'd slap my leg or clap my hand to that timing. So that taught me the timing when I didn't even know what the fuck timing was.
Oh yeah.
You know, so
and you know it's crazy. I saw a bird of a cockatiel today that was listening to Seven Nations Army. Yeah, Seven Nation Army. Yeah, Seven Nation Army. Yeah. And before the drums come in, like it lifts its legs right when it hears the fucking bass line. It lifts its leg and like counts and waits for the drums to come in and goes with the fucking drums.
Really?
Dude, goes with the kick.
Dude, that is awesome.
It was fucking amazing. And I was like, yo, that is brilliant. Like this bird is fucking brilliant. And that is definite signs of intellect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, that's another thing, man. They're starting to find that like all these things are becoming self-aware. Like not becoming, but we are noticing that more things are self-aware than what we thought. Mm-hmm. I read, and I'm horrible for this, and I think a lot of people do this, and they probably relate when I say it. I'm a headline reader.
Yeah.
I'll read a headline. If the headline I feel like describes it good enough, I'm out. You know what I mean? Like, or I'll jump to like the comment section. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
precisely.
And I'm like, okay, who's calling out the bullshit and stuff before I go read it? And I'll never end up reading it. And I'll have like the headline in my head. But either way, I don't know what kind of ant or whatever it is, but there's ants where they took and they put a little tiny paint dot on their forehead right there and put them in front of a mirror. And when they got in front of the mirror, instead of thinking that was another ant, they took their arm and tried to knock the paint dot off of their head. What? And that sounds small, but that is
that's
huge.
Wild, dude. That's fucking
that is
wild. Huge.
So these little tiny creatures that I have to fuck with all the time that fuck me up in my job, I hate those little things, are self-aware.
Yeah, dude, that's fucking wild.
One of the things you think is so insignificant in the world that there's billions of, there's definitely more ants than there are people.
And you know what's crazy is for the longest time now, like I don't actively go out of my way to kill. I used to when I was a kid, but I think about it now and I'm like,
I just read this article the other day, and I know where you're going. Like, you try not to kill them now, right?
Yeah, I'm like, what if something comes out and does me like I just did this
like,
thing,
I think about that shit too. I'm like, man, it's just it's a weird game we play when we play like God.
Yep.
You know, because I'm telling you right now, man, my job is as a land surveyor. I'm out in the woods. I'm in different places, and there's these ant mounds, and sometimes I have to dig stuff up and all this mess, and you'll come across some worms. You'll have a worm. You'll see an ant mound. You're like, huh. And that worm's gone. You know what I mean? Like, I'll just toss that worm on the ant mound and watch the ants go at it. But then I'll also, like, I'd always fuck with the ants. I have like the rod and stuff. I'll just go and just poke a hole in there. Or like, I pour water on it. Like, yeah, see, I'm a generous landlord. I give you a pool. You know what I mean? I'll just fuck with them.
I mean, I guess it's better than gasoline.
Yeah, I'm not burning them, but I will step on their things. I'll destroy their ant mounds and that shit. Just because fuck them, man. Because fuck them. That's
why they fucking have it out for you guys.
It's so bad, man. I'll have to flag up something that's on the ground, and I'll just reach down to flag it up, and all of a sudden my handles just start hurting in like 5 or 6 different places. And I'll have ant bites.
Yeah.
The worst is when you're standing there and you don't know you're in fire ant mound.
Dude, I remember in middle school,
you just want to burn them all because that is just the most pointless. Don't fuck why, you know, like why do you exist?
In middle school, like we would do, you know, bets or dares or whatever, you know what I mean? And so like I used to hustle the fuck out of. I was a serious fucking hustler in middle school and high school, you know. Like I sold cigarettes. I sold condoms that I stole from the gas station. The cigarettes I stole from my uncle because he would buy cartons at a time. Yeah. And I would go and steal a couple packs and
you know what I would do? My side hustle in middle school.
Sell Lucy's and shit. And
my side hustle in middle school was I'd take those sell the Lucy.
I didn't know they were called Lucy's.
Yeah, right. You didn't call them Lucy's in middle school. But I would take people's like Dorito bags, like the little tiny chip bags, and you take them back to your house and throw them in the microwave for a couple seconds. I don't know if you've ever done that.
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, you're probably gonna try it, and I would say don't do it all the time because it will fuck your microwave up. Yeah. Disclaimer: if you hear this, don't do it. Don't. It's not worth it.
It's aluminum, guys.
Yeah. So you put it in there and you hit it like literally just hit like 5 seconds, and it's not even gonna take that.
Yeah.
And you hit start and just watch it, and it'll go and it'll flash and it'll pop. Looks like lightning's going off, and you'll see this bag start to crumple, and it goes shroom, and it shrinks down to probably about 1 inch or 2 inches tall, and it has all the detail and everything that's on the bag. It's all there. It looks like it's made. And what you do is you take a little thing, you poke a hole, and you put a little thing on it, make it a key ring. And I would sell them for $1. And then I'd go buy my lunch. Then I'd go buy like another chocolate milk at lunch.
And see, that's the thing. I used to hustle people for their chocolate milks. Like,
There's something about when they put chocolate in milk, man.
I used to have milk racing contests, belching contests.
Oh, did you have the sack milks?
Yeah, we did.
The milk
actually.
sacks.
Yeah, dude,
yeah, they look like
remember
breast
those.
implants.
I like those better than the cartons, honestly.
I did too. Did you ever take your straw and go all the way through it?
No, I've never done that.
Did you see the people do that?
No.
Really?
No.
You could take your straw and you poke it in, and as long as you keep your thumb on it, it keeps that air pressure, so no milk's coming through it. Then you can just take that sharp end and poke it straight through the other side, and the milk doesn't come out.
Dude,
because it's sealed off, and you have a hole. You have a rod going straight through, like your straw, a rod. Yeah, I'm fucking stabbing it with a rod. You have a straw going straight through like a milk sack.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah, it's the shit that's cool in middle school.
Yeah, it's the same concept as putting like a toothpick through the end of a balloon. You know, even a balloon that's filled with helium, it'll still float even though it's got the two holes.
Yeah.
It's got something plugging.
Yeah, something plugging the holes. Yep.
You know, although I would feel like with milk being, you know, a lot looser. What is the word? More malleable.
Viscous?
Yeah. No, not quite. I'd say malleable.
Malleable.
Inside of that sack, you know.
We're big wording it up today, man. Hashtag dictionary for this one.
Hashtag read, nigga. Hashtag what's a book? No, like I could honestly not even be using the right word, but it's something that would describe, well, malleable is the description within the sack. You know what I mean? The liquid within the sack being able to be manipulated and moved and, you know, forced from place to place while staying in the same, you know, the same amount of space. Whereas once it starts to spill out of the sack, I would feel like, and that's the word that I'm looking for, is the word that would describe its ability to spill out, even though it's got something technically plugging the hole. If you hold it straight, or you like provide any kind of tension that like otherwise separates the hole from the plug, the milk would start to spill out. Yeah. And so that's interesting, because even with the holes in the ends of the fucking balloon, you know what I mean? I've done that where I would try it and I would try to get some of the air to spill out, and it doesn't the same way that milk does, at least. You know what I mean? Like the air, I wouldn't hear any hissing, you know? And I think it's because even when you stretch the rubber band, or you stretch, God damn it, I keep trying to say rubber band. When you stretch the balloon, that rubber still contracts in on itself. And
it takes a lot of stretching to get to that. Yeah, there's a lot more that has to happen before that.
Interesting.
There's so much shit, man. I like physics. I like science. I've always been a big science nerd. What makes me really happy is my daughter has gotten really into liking science and math.
Dude, that's dope.
And she's not a sports person.
Especially at a young age.
She's not a sports person. I know some chicks out there are big sports.
Yeah.
My daughter plays soccer, and she's okay. She tries, and that's all I care about. She's just giving effort and having fun.
Yeah, dude. I agree with sports.
Last year, she was on like a really good team where there's like, you know how they have like those superstar athlete kids.
Yeah.
Like, you know that those kids are good at it. Okay, your brother and sister played it for 6 years before you even were born. They taught you everything they know. Now go out there and bicycle kick it in on a 3-year-old. You know what I mean? She was on that team last year, and you know, they won a lot. And this year she was not on the great team. Like the team just collectively was not as good.
But she still tried.
And so did all the other girls out there, and that made me really happy to see.
Yeah.
And she actually gave more effort this year than she did last year,
because
which makes me happy because she's having she had to work for it and she was having fun.
Precisely. And that's where I think the idea of like appreciating an accomplishment comes from, is having to work for it.
Yeah.
That's why we work. You know
exactly.
What I mean? Although,
well, I work. God damn, I wish I didn't work so much.
We work to survive nowadays. You know what I mean?
This
and
is
I mean,
very true.
That's always been the thing. You work to survive or whatever. But there are cats who don't work to survive. There are cats who literally exist. You know, they get paid because they exist. You know what I'm saying? And that's like
reality TV
it's pretty
people.
Fucked up. Like
I can't stand reality television, dude. I feel like that's just it. Like the Real Housewives of this and all that bullshit, man. Like you're making money because
fucking show up to eat steak, you know what I mean, and when
you get paid
billions of dollars somehow. Like how the fuck does that happen?
Yeah,
you know?
Like I mean, shit, I'm not gonna lie. I'd like to make it, but I'd like to make it to a point where a place is gonna just pay me just to show up and make an appearance. But at the same time, it's like, what kind of vanity am I really looking for? Like, how far am I willing to go, and how much of my true self am I willing to give up just to make a little bit of money?
Yep.
honestly, dude, if I made enough money doing comedy to just live how I live now, if
Yeah.
I had to put just as many hours in, which I probably should, but I just don't have the time. But if I had the time to put in 60 hours a week into comedy, I would.
And that's exactly
And
how I feel.
And if it would pay the bills, I don't care if I'd still struggle like I struggle now. If I could just pay like I'm
If I
paying
can live
now,
comfortably,
and I'm not even
satisfied.
comfortable, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, I'm all right.
Yeah.
I'm not doing horrible, but I mean, just because I have these things doesn't mean it's easier. It's just the same problems that I had when I was 20, I have when I'm 30.
Yeah.
It's just I have more to lose now.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing. I when growing up, you look at people who are older and they have like, oh, that guy's got a house. He's got he's got this. He's got that. They got it all figured out. Oh,
Technically,
they don't.
You think you have.
I don't have this. The
fancy
bank
things.
owns this
Precisely,
shit.
dude.
I don't own this yet. The
And
bank still has it.
The moment that you fucking can't afford
Yeah.
to keep up with it, you feel me?
It's not mine. I don't get to take this with me.
You're kicked out. Then
Yeah.
what happens?
So honestly, dude, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind getting to like a famous point where I could just, dude, I would love for this podcast to take off. And
Man,
then
I don't want to be famous. I mean, like I know I got to put my face out, and I know that I have to do stuff, and I have to be involved, and I have to like promote on social media. I fucking hate social media, but I have to do it.
dude, I'm
because-
telling you right now, I didn't get into Instagram and all that shit until I got back into comedy
Months ago,
because
Like, for me,
I had to do
Yeah,
it. Like
it's so
just,
hard, dude. For me, at
and
least.
I look at it now too, especially with comedy. Like, comedy is more than just getting up there and open mics and doing stages.
Yeah.
It's way more
It's about
than that.
promoting. It's about
it's about
fucking
having an
crowd work,
online
for sure.
presence.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. You can go out there and do these shows and promote yourself, but if there's nothing online for those people, like, hey, I went and saw Brandon last night and he was funny. Let me go when I go to work tomorrow. I'm going to pull him up. If they don't have anything to pull up, then they don't care anymore.
Precisely.
The instant you become non-available, you're done.
Yep.
Until they see, oh, I remember him.
Yep.
I saw him 2 years ago. When meanwhile, you never know, that person could have shared your information and could have gotten you 100 to 200,000 more people following what you're doing.
And that's how I feel too. Like
But then it's like you were saying, I don't know how famous I really want to be.
yeah, precisely.
I think I just want to reach like a comfort level and then just maintain. Like my favorite artist, musician, is his name is Butch Walker. And I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but Deep South Records?
I do.
Dave Rose?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Dave Rose knows him. Dave Rose, actually, I think he was signed on Deep South for a short bit.
That's pretty dope.
And because I don't know if you remember when they used to do the Bud Light downtown, used to have like the free shows every summer.
Yeah, dude.
He did a free show there that summer, and that was because of Dave Rose and their relationship. But Butch Walker, check him out, dude. He's behind a lot of music, and I love him. I love him because he's behind the scenes on a lot of music. He's written a lot of songs. I think he's written with or for Taylor Swift. He's written Sum 41. He's written Bowling for Soup songs. He's written, I'm just spitballing off the top of my head. I think he did some Avril Lavigne stuff. He's done Kelly Clarkson, Since You've Been Gone. I think he wrote that.
Dude,
I think he wrote that. You don't hold me to that one.
That's amazing.
But you know that I think it's that She's Still Preoccupied with 1985.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, that's him. And that hit like the Bowling for Soup, like he wrote some of their songs. And but anyway, he's just behind the scenes a lot, and that's kind of how I would rather be.
There's a local...
with this, like I would rather be able to go sell out Lincoln Theater than not sell out D-Pack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd rather go do a show at Lincoln Theater and have a full fucking crowd of 350, 400 people, however many people they can hold in there.
I agree.
Then go to D-Pack and have 800 people, but have 700 and 1,500 empty seats.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I would much rather have it be more intimate. Honestly, I'd rather just sell out good nights. But that would be
a good 300, a very intimate room. That's a very fucking intimate room.
Dude, good nights is.
Yeah, like
it really is.
You have the ability, like say for example, the headliner who's here this weekend, Andrew Dice Clay. He's really renowned. You know what I mean?
Dude, I grew up listening to Andrew Dice Clay. Him and like Sam Kinison and all those guys were like, I kind of like got into liking comedy because of that. But anyway,
this man tours all around the country, and I don't know necessarily out of the country or anything, but like the first night I met him, I was chatting with him, trying to get a song request and whether or not he wanted a light or anything like that. And he was trying to decide what song to come out, what would stimulate the audience the most. And he told me a song originally, and I don't quite recall what it was. And he asked to his feature, He was like, this place seats 3,000 people, right? And I started laughing in his face. Like, I started laughing in his face. I was like, no. And he was like, why are you laughing? And I'm like, because the irony is so hilarious to me, because I saw the disappointment in his face for sure. But I also have seen like that change completely, because he goes onto the stage. He brings the house lights up. He has me dim the stage lights so he can see everybody, and so that he can talk with people, and so that he can be intimate with people. And he has been saying, like, the last couple of shows, he says to the audience, he's like, yeah, I've been going around the country trying to like feel out places that I want to film for my documentary, and I'm definitely coming back here. I'm definitely coming back here to, work on my documentary. And I don't know if he's saying that just to appeal to the crowd or whatever, but he sounds pretty genuine when he says it. And, people are enjoying his set and things like that. For sure, people are going to come back, and people are going to want to interact, and people are going to, are going to buy his tickets to come and see him. And he's going to sell out this place as he has been doing. You know what I mean? Because I agree. I prefer to sell out a place that seats 300 people than to, sell.
Because I played at Good Nights. One of the first times I ever did open mic there. It was like open mic, because you run it. It can go from like 30 people to that place could pack.
Dude, sometimes it's even like bones of people. It's like 10 people, you know what I mean? But there have been times where it's been almost sold out. You know what I mean? Because they're free tickets. People don't know what they're doing on a Tuesday night. They find out, there's an open mic. And those shows...
I promote... You can ask Brian Jones. He runs a lot of open mics and stuff. You can ask him. Almost every time I get up there, I promote Good Nights and Tuesday night open mic nights, and trying to get people to go out there and support local comedy, even if I'm not on the ticket, because I love it so much. I want people to come out and be a part of what's going on, and I think the comics could benefit from it. And I think the more people I've talked to about comedy and getting their eyes more open and be like, hey, our local comedy scene's not bad.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's not one you just pass by on.
It's
not like a little mom and pop town.
Some great people.
There's a lot of really good comedians.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop some names actually of people that we've featured on Between Two Clouds. Oh, and I didn't even mention earlier. Between Two Clouds, we also live stream. We live stream via Twitch, and we also we close the night. So we do the comedy. We do musical acts, and actually this coming Monday, tomorrow, for our first Raleigh event, I will be opening for our featured performer. So
nice.
I'm excited for that. They're called Trey Mars and the Kids Downtown. The Kids Downtown is the band, and Trey is the guy who has commissioned them. And he himself is a pretty prominent hip hop artist out of Durham, and he's toured the East Coast quite a bit for a few years now, and decided he wanted to start touring with a band. And these guys are great, you know what I mean? They're becoming really prominent all throughout the Triangle. And they were at Shikori Hills this year.
Yep, at Shikori Hills.
And they performed on, I don't think they performed quite on the main stage, but they were blessed with an hour set, you know what I mean? For a show like that, that's fucking amazing.
That's good, yeah. That's headliner kind of stuff.
Precisely, dude. And they were in the same place, like Lettuce was there, you know what I mean? G Yamazawa from Durham, he's got hundreds of thousands of followers, or listeners on Spotify, they were there with some really big name motherfuckers doing their shit, you know what I mean? Like, and they've earned it for sure.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to open for these guys for a while now, and it just so happens we booked them on the show that I help organize, and I get to open for them. You know what I mean? So that's awesome. Like, that's two dreams come true for me. You know what I mean?
You book them and open for them.
Precisely. Yeah. Like, and I'm really excited about it. And what's funny is, so we live stream. We do live stream via Twitch, and then we close the night out with a couple of DJ sets via an app called Q. CUE is how it's spelled. It's a relatively new app. It's been out for about 3 months now. And we've become really good friends with the developers. We've gone from like hundreds, like anywhere from dozens to hundreds of users to now thousands of users using Q and streaming on Q and booking performances and stuff. And nice. You can tune into these live streaming performances, and we have people from other countries even, streaming in to DJ, and we can hear them at our house. You know what I mean? Yeah. We hear them from our phone, like we hear them, through our monitors, you know what I mean? Like, and we can communicate with them on the spot, and be like, yo, good fucking work, or dude, that was a dope transition, whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it's so amazing how interactive this thing is, like, where everyone is there for the art. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. But a few people that we've had, a few of the local comics we've had at our last one actually, we had Jason Zaremba, and he fucking killed, dude. He was amazing. We've had Aaron Ransom. We've had Tank
Aaron
Smith.
always kills it.
Aaron's fucking great.
Aaron's great. His crowd work is
you know what's
unmatched.
crazy too is he's just at a year of comedy now, like of doing comedy. And
really?
Yeah, and he was.
I need to get him in here too, because me and him always end up
sure.
hitting it off and talking.
For sure.
But I never
dude.
really get a chance to talk to him.
He's a great conversationalist. He's great and I think that's why he's so good with this.
He's
with the crowd
also
work.
to me a little intimidating.
Just
not in his presence, but just
he
not
kind of
like,
he can force a laugh for sure. He can force a laugh out of people.
Yeah,
like, what the fuck is your problem? Why are you not laughing? Like, yeah, he's very good at that.
Just I don't know. Just there's some people I meet that I'm more comfortable talking to than others, and Aaron's one of those guys that I'm comfortable talking to, but I just don't know.
I feel that.
You know, like I just don't know.
I
don't know what it is. I grew up around that. I'm used to that. I work with a bunch of good old country. He does land surveying, and so do I.
That's like
we
the
have the
most
same like
intimidating
profession
thing about most people is the country boys. Like, you know, a lot of country boys are coming around, and I don't know if it's like forced or whatever, but it's like, you know, I grew up in the country too, but I grew up still around predominantly black people. So to like
your version of country is different.
There was definite disparity between the two cultures. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I've had an interest. I've always like growing up, I liked white girls a lot. You know what I mean? And I mean, I'm mixed. I feel like I'm more than that. Fuck that. I mean, you should be able to date whoever the fuck you want.
Whatever makes you happy.
So long as you have a mutual interest in one another, why the fuck not? You know, like, and that's, so I like had this interest in this one girl, and her dad was a racist fuck, dude, and he was like, yeah, you better not come near my daughter. Like,
really?
Just straight like that. And it's like, okay, you're right, I'm not gonna come near your daughter.
Yeah, I'm not.
But it's I dated another white girl whose parents were both white, you know what I mean, and they loved me. They told her like, he's a very clean cut young man, I like him. You know, and they used to let me come over and
see, my whole thing is I don't care. See, I have 2 daughters. I don't care who they bring home,
right,
as long as they're a presentable person
and respectable.
Yeah. And they don't even have to be that. I mean, if they brought home like a Post Malone, I wouldn't be totally opposed. I'm just talking about like in general, like that whole like face tattoos and like, you know,
I feel that.
I mean, I was still raised very traditional, you know, and but
see,
I break away from that. I break away from a lot of that. Like, it's like, you know, I don't care as long as my daughter's happy,
right?
You know, as long as she's happy and the person they're making her happy,
right?
And she's happy being with them, and it's, I don't know, as long as it's all harmonious, I guess I'm fine with whatever, you know, because Lord knows if people were judging, me and my wife probably wouldn't be together, right? You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have much to offer when we first met. Like, if she was like, yeah, hey, here's my boyfriend, Brandon, you know, he has no job, I'm basically buying his lunches for him, we're hanging out watching footballs on Sunday, like, That's
amazing to find a woman like that, dude.
Dude, that's literally the wife I have. Like, when we first met, I didn't technically have a job because music was slacking at that point where I was playing you know, weekend gigs and stuff. And when we first met, it was slacking at that point. Like, music was starting going out, like on a gig where I used to get like $300 or $400 to play for 4 hours. I would get like 150. So, like, I took a huge hit and it just stopped being worth it. But it started to come back a little bit. But when we first met, dude, I really didn't have a job. And I ended up getting a job where she worked at and as a host at a restaurant. And we kind of just hit it off from there.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And she came over. It was Halloween 14 years ago we met. And a friend of ours named Dean, who I haven't talked to him in a long time too, man. Get me reminiscent every year. I had to have him come over, but this guy named Dean hooked us up because she worked with him and he knew me through my roommates.
Oh, that's dope. And I love that. I love when that
they were
happens.
like, you need to come out and check out this guy, Brandon. You know, he's doing the open mic tonight, and we're gonna go hang out. That's what we go do. And she's like, okay. So she comes and hangs out. We hit it off, and you know, she comes back and hangs out the house, and one thing leads to another, and then like fucking 14 years later, we're married for 7 years and got 2 kids.
Damn,
so,
dude, that's amazing.
And we bought a house, and you know, she's still driving the same car, that Camry. It's the same car when we first met. That's what she was driving.
Damn, dude,
was that Camry? Yeah. I mean, I've had like 8 or 9 cars.
I was about to say, I've had like 6 cars since I was 18.
I mean, I go through cars and jobs, but I like it's going out of style.
I like old cars. Yeah, I've had 16 jobs.
Dude, I've had massive amounts of jobs. You asked me earlier because I told you it doesn't matter. We're at an hour and 50, but we can still roll. It doesn't matter. You were asking me earlier how I got into radio.
Yeah.
And so what was going on was at the time I was working as a pest technician for a prominent pest control company that has the bugs on top of the truck. And so I was
actually thought about working for them.
I did work for them. And I'm not going to say that it was bad, but it wasn't good.
Yeah.
I mean, you're definitely fucking killing bugs.
Yeah, and you're also in unsafe environments.
Unsafe environments, mold, and chemicals in confined spaces, and the pay just doesn't reflect it.
No.
It does not reflect what's necessary to do that job at all. But anyway,
especially
I was sitting
minimal
there.
Training.
Yeah, I was sitting there, and they send you to bug school. We can drop into that a little bit. But I was sitting there one day, and I heard. I was listening to at the time it was Bob and the Show Graham. It was Bob, Mike, and Kristen.
I remember that show.
I know Mike. Me and Mike know each other through another mutual friend of mine who was here my last podcast, Max.
Dude, that's it.
Yeah, so me and Mike kind of knew each other already, but I got to go up there and I got bit by the radio bug. And I was like, yeah, I got bit by that radio bug. And I was like, fuck it, man. I'm going to try and get into radio. So I literally went on Craigslist, went to jobs, typed in radio, and a traffic producer position popped up for $7.50 an hour part-time.
Huh.
And I took that job. And I got in, and it's literally, when I first got there, it was just watching like traffic monitors, like, the videos, like the cameras they have on 40 and stuff. You're just watching that. You have contact with DOT. And you got police scanners going. So you listen for like 1050s, which is an accident. And like 1050F is fatal. PD is property damage. And you just kind of learn stuff. So like when there's shootouts and shit, like you could hear it, which was kind of cool. But my main focus was to get people traffic, to get the traffic anchors, the information as fast as possible. Right. So they have a prepared set to go on, to be on for however long, to tell people about the traffic. So if you're in the Triangle area and you want to find good traffic information, any one of the Curtis media stations, so like 96 Rock, 94.7 QDR, any of those are going to give you the best traffic. 680 WPTF, I think is the AM station, is one of theirs. They'll give you the best traffic. They have these people called traffic scouts. I didn't even know this. They're just random people. They aren't paid, or they're paid minimally. I think it's like very, very little that they make, but all they have to do is if they hit traffic on their route to work, they call and go, hey, this is my traffic scout, or whatever their name was, not name, but whatever the name they used for them. And they had an ID number. And they tell you the ID number, so they check in. So you just write that number down, and they'd be like, hey, traffic on 40 is fine and rolling between blah, 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 blah. And so you're like, all right, cool. So you have real-time information there. So anyway, I go from sitting back there and talking to my boss and being like, I really want to try and be on air, and him working with me and getting me on to some of like the FTP clients that we had for like some Wake Forest radio stations and stuff like that. I'd pre-record, throw it up on the FTP like 10 minutes before their break, and then they would just pull it from the FTP site and play it. So I got my break there, kind of doing that, and then I worked my way into being able to be the backup for Robin Fox. She was on 96 Rock as their traffic anchor. Oh yeah, and she's a really close friend of mine, and ended up being her. We became close friends, and ended up being like her backup. So like whenever she couldn't make it, I was there. So then I started working with 96 Rock, and that kind of got my voice on there as Moose. And then Jay Nacklis, he's one of the youngest program directors for radio stations like ever. I think he was in like some magazine for it. But one of the youngest program directors gave me a shot, dude. And 96 Rock at the time was a top 50 market. Yeah. And like you don't just start in a top 50 market on air.
That's fucking wild, yeah.
So, but yeah, he let me do like pre-records. So I would go in and pre-record so I'd have some time. Yeah. And then I did a couple live ones, and he pulled me because I wasn't that good. I haven't always been able to hold conversation and just make stuff happen and, you know, all that. So I didn't do that well, but I worked my way back, and like I would do I worked my way from just being a traffic producer to being on air at 96 Rock and running like things overnight for WPTF and getting stuff loaded up and like all the syndicated shows we had. I'd run the Rush Limbaugh show.
That's
I'd
dope.
run a lot of stuff, man. So that gave me a lot of perspective, like on like Republican view, or like I shouldn't say Republican, but like hardcore conservative,
Right.
I guess. More of the hardcore conservative views on things, and like I don't know, just kind of opened up my world a lot. And dude, radio is awesome. I met Chris Cornell before he offed himself. You know, like I've met my biggest admirer in music. I was talking about earlier, Butch Walker came through the studio. There's a whole video of him online at 96 Rock, and I was working there at that time.
That's dope, man.
So you get to meet. I mean, I met Hoist Gracie, you know, the MMA fighter.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I met Hoist Gracie, and like he didn't speak very good English to me, but you know, it was just a meeting. You know, just saying, hey, shook his hand. I've met a lot of really cool people. I've been backstage with the with the Black Crows.
I know of the name, but I don't know any music in particular.
Yeah, you do. She Talks to Angels. Yeah, you know the song.
How about we throw it on right now?
I probably could. I don't know. I don't want to get pulled for any reason.
Oh yeah, true.
I'll let you listen to it, but you know it.
Perhaps we can give them an example of some of my work later.
Yeah, I mean, I'm totally down. I should have got you to email me.
You got permission.
Yeah, we can throw it up. I can throw a link up. I'm definitely going to promote you on here for sure.
I appreciate that for sure, man. Because you know, like I said, I'm not looking for fame. I just want to
But your music has a
me.
message. Yeah, your music has a message, and I feel like just based on some of the lyrics that you told me, it's a message that should be heard by some people.
I agree.
You never know what who you're going to reach. You never know what this conversation. Somebody could sit down and really relate to what you've got going on and say, okay, this guy's doing all right. You know, he's been through some shit and he's doing okay.
Yeah.
He's making shit work. I can too. And that's kind of like what I want to do.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate you giving me a platform on which to do that, you know.
And plus I want your fans to know who you are.
Yeah,
It makes you more accessible.
Yeah.
You know?
And I appreciate that because I know, like, even in person, you know what I mean? And like, say for example, I work at a brand new coffee shop in Raleigh, and anybody who's in Raleigh right now, come check out Heirloom. You know, we're brand new. We're featured in Raleigh's top 10 new places to visit recently, and we've only been open for a month.
Where are they at?
We're located at on Weston Martin, right across from the new Amtrak station.
Okay, yeah.
And the Dylan is what it's called. It's fucking dope. We sell some dank ass.
Oh, I know the Dylan.
Dank ass coffee. We sell some dope teas. We also have sake cocktails, and we have Lao, Taiwanese, and Japanese inspired dishes that we serve.
Really?
I myself am a cook.
I don't know where else to get that kind of food.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Precisely. I'm
sure there's places.
They've got a couple sister businesses around. I can't quite remember what one of them is called, but there's a Lao restaurant right beside the Poorhouse downtown on Blunt Street.
Okay.
And I can't quite recall what it's called, but I hear it's a pretty great place. I myself have never been.
And what was the name of the place again?
So where I work, it's called Heirloom.
Heirloom.
Yeah, spelled H-E-I-R, by the way. A lot of people have asked me that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like an heirloom.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
A lot of people have asked me that for sure, and I just want to clarify.
No, we're gonna loom some air like we used to loom the cotton. You know?
I mean, I guess that could be a verb.
Yeah, it could be.
Or
how can people follow you on Instagram if they want to follow you?
So my
or
moniker,
social media.
Yeah, my moniker for everything for the most part. On Instagram, I'm Toni.The.Martian. It's Toni.The.Martian. And on Facebook, I'm Toni.The.Martian. I spell my name like a phrase, like Toni, you know, the Martian.
Yeah.
So it's Toni, comma, the Martian, period, and Martian being what's the word I'm looking for? It's a specific kind of pronoun, or not a pronoun. It's almost a name. You know what I mean? Like you're talking about a race of something, but you're talking about someone specifically from that race. So you call him a Martian. So you capitalize it. Is what I'm saying. Is all I'm trying to say. Toni is capitalized, and so is Martian. I'm very particular about that shit, and that's where I delve back into like my control issues. You know what I mean? Like it. You remember the band Fun? Period.
Yeah, I do.
That's how they spelled it. And I heard during an interview with them, I forget who was interviewing them, but she was like, yeah. So I never really realized this, but your band's name is actually spelled fun, period, you know, and that's how you want it to be spelled all the time. And the front man was like, yeah, actually that's what our name is, you know. And so I'm very particular about that. I'm very particular about the way I write.
Well, it kind of changes your first impression of it.
Yeah,
it can change it. Like when I hear the band Fun, I'm like, okay, cool, fun. They're like fun, period. Like, oh, that's what. Yeah, you know, fun.
It's just
period. Like that. Just
panic exclamation point
at the disco.
Yeah. You know, and like, you know, Pink she spells hers with an exclamation instead.
Pink is another artist who's worked with Butch Walker.
Oh, that's
dope. They have a Pink, it's called Song Without a Chorus, dude. It is beautiful.
Favorite female vocalist.
Dude, I'll pull up Butch Walker on the one I ride back home.
I'm gonna definitely want to check him out.
Yeah, it's totally worth taking a listen to.
Hell yeah.
And for you too, how can people listen to your music?
Yeah, okay, cool. So the easiest way to get to my music, I suppose, is to just visit me on Instagram. I've got my links there. But, you know, whatever streaming platform you use, be it iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer, Tidal, you know, all of those things, even Google Play and Amazon Music, those platforms, I'm available there. I recently became available on Pandora, which is cool because Pandora has they're very renowned for being hard to get on, and so that's excited me. Spotify personally is my favorite because
that's where after this is like my, I don't even know what the word to use is, but this is like the podcast I'm using as my final one to be able to submit to get onto.
I'm appreciative
podcast
of that for sure.
For Spotify. And as soon as I get approved for it, I'm looking forward to promoting it harder.
I think like Spotify has they really care about the artist.
Yeah, that's where
and like I started using this online DAW called Soundtrap a long time ago when I first started trying to learn how to make beats. Because I didn't grow up with the equipment, so I've had to teach myself a lot.
Me too. You know? I've had to acquire stuff over the years.
Precisely.
I mess around, like I have a whole thing. I have the Akai MPC.
Oh, hell
here.
Yeah, dude.
I mess around with the MPC machine a lot. Actually, once we end this, I'll pull up a song that I've done.
Hell yeah, dude.
But yeah. So anyway, plug your stuff. So I think we're about to call it here. I gotta kind of get going get stuff closing down at the house, start getting the kids ready to start going to bed and stuff. But I'll get you back to the house and everything. So people can listen to you on Spotify.
That's
most streaming platforms.
And even YouTube. And I have one video that I did myself. It's very shoddily made, but it's okay for a first effort. So definitely check that out if
so it's Toni.The.Martian.
Yeah,
Toni.The.Martian. The Martian.
Yeah, Toni. You know
the Martian. That Martian guy. Toni, I do appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude.
All right, buddy. We'll catch up. We'll get back together again and do some more.
Hell yeah!
Because I feel like we could probably talk for another few hours if we wanted to.
Definitely be on the lookout for some new stuff. I'm changing my sound just a little bit. I'm trying to experiment with some stuff, and I'm going to release like a single on Spotify probably, but I'm going to put the remainder on SoundCloud because I'm not trying to monetize it. It's for the sake of experimenting and for the sake of
I don't put any of my stuff out to monetize stuff. I just put it out because I want
to make some money from it.
I mean honestly
I made like $6 already.
That's awesome.
That's
I'd
dope,
like
right?
I'd like to be able to get this podcast up on Spotify and be able to make a little bit of revenue off that just to pay to keep some of this stuff going.
Precisely.
Yeah, I'm not looking to try and get like super rich off doing this or anything. If it could start paying some bills, that'd be great.
Yeah,
but
honestly, if I could make the same doing this as I would at a full-time job, I'd be happy.
Yep. All right, man. I think that's what we'll call it.
Hell yeah.
All right, buddy. I appreciate it. So there you go. Another episode in the books. Again, I want to thank you all for listening. It means a lot. Your support means a lot to me. And Toni, thanks for coming in. You can always follow him like he said, Toni, that's Toni, Toni.The.Martian on the socials. You can also feel free to hit me up on the hotline, 919-521-8935. Leave a message and maybe make the show. Anyway, you guys have a great couple weeks and I will be back.